driving me crazy just looking at it. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. You do this thing when you're biting your lip, it's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. You do this thing when you're biting your lip, it's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. Without you, driving me crazy just looking at it. Driving me crazy just looking at it. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. Combing your hair with your hand gives me feelings I don't understand. You do this thing when you're biting your lip, it's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. You do this thing when I'm talking to you, like everything freezes and it's just you. You do this thing when I'm talking to you, like everything freezes and it's just you. You do this thing when you're biting your lip, it's driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live in a world without you. Give it to me like world without you. Just looking at it. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You do this thing when you're biting your lip. World without you. Driving me crazy just looking at it. Driving me crazy just looking at it. You know me better than I know myself. I don't wanna live without you.
Good morning, people. I hope all is good for everyone. It's only just stopped raining here, but they've said it's going to be a proper rainy day, so I am going nowhere fast today. I do not like going out and getting soaking wet. Right, there's a few points I want to bring up today. And I must admit, after a few things I said yesterday, maybe I went a bit OTT with myself, especially after a couple of results yesterday. I think everyone knows what I'm on about there. Yeah, it is a bit sad that that is going to be the peak of our season, but I'll get to that a bit later. So, right, what I'm going to do is just say hello to a couple of people on here. I mean, one thing I've definitely learned is trying to keep up with the comments and trying to do this at the same time. Like I just said on Mia's one. Oh, and a big thanks to Mia for sending people over. I'm a man, multitask. Men aren't meant to multitask. Women are brilliant at it. Men are not. But I will learn. I will get better. So, Tony Rodriguez, how we doing, mate? Hope all is good for you. Big up, Dan. Big up to you too, mate. Always got a solid comment on the side. Always come on my shows and that. Much appreciated. And, mate, like I've said to you before, 95% of what you say, I'm 100% with you. Right, who else we got? Daryl Denton. Good morning, mate. Right. All what changes at Spurs are the wordings and and pure BS. Working to blueprint. They ain't never worked, yet try to convince us we are going in the right direction. This is what the head of my page is all about, basically. This is one of the main things I want to bring up. It's the picture I've done. It's the picture I put together. Is this all we really are at Spurs? Are we just puppets? Not just us, but this man as well. It is a question I want to ask people. It is a question I want opinions on. Are we all just puppets at Spurs. But I will come to that one. Right, Daryl Denton again. Did you see our coaching staff was expected to do things with them names? Do you know what? Yeah, I was on Stel's show last night. Mate, that coach, I don't know where to go with that one. It was actually quite shocking. I mean, from what I know of, Ange hasn't got his own set coaching lot. He likes to go to a different club, different coaches, whatever else. But again, we can go to this puppet thing. Did Ange actually pick them? We don't know. I doubt we'll ever know. But if Ange picked that coaching staff, I've now got another red flag. Because anybody who did see that coaching staff on Stel's show when he showed it on there, it was absolutely shocking. And I still just don't understand why we got rid of that set piece coach. Because Ryan Mason is not doing a good job with it, is he? No, he's not. And set pieces do seem to be, quite possibly, one of our weakest places. My coffee here, like I've said before, I need it every morning. Like I'm like an addict on it. If I don't get my coffee, I don't liven up. All right, Daryl, what you're saying here? You got to get all the cogs right in the club. To think it's just the manager, you win stuff, is delusional. That's totally true. Now, obviously, the players need to do their piece. That just goes without saying. Nobody even needs to question that one. The manager is a major part of it, obviously. But if he hasn't got the coaching staff to do what he needs to do, because he can't do it all himself, what's going to happen? You're going to concede set pieces all the time when you haven't got a decent set piece coach there showing them how to do it. But then I would also think a couple of the players use some common sense as well. They've been playing football long enough that I don't think they necessarily need a set piece coach there to tell them every footstep they need to make. Yes, get a set piece coach there to say, right, this is how we're going to do our set pieces. This is how we're going to defend. But some of the players use some bloody initiative. And it goes back to something I said yesterday. Nobody covers Vicario and everyone knows that's his weak spot. Initiative. And some of the players just don't seem to have it. So, yeah, we do need a decent set-piece coach, without a doubt. But you're 100% right on what you're saying, mate. The manager cannot do everything. That is why you find the majority of winning teams and the majority of world-class managers who've won everything always have a solid coaching staff, and they usually have at least, 3 or 4 that they bring with them to every club. So I agree on that one. And Daryl, what you're saying again here, our DNA under Inick, I think you meant to say, is for a manager to overachieve what he gets given, not what he wants. I can't really argue that. As long as we get 4th place, Inick just really don't care, do they? They really don't. R709, big up, brother. Big up to you too, mate. Hope the morning's all good for you. I don't know where you are, but if it's anything like it is now, it's not a very nice day here. So, Lily White Lane, morning to you too, mate. It was good seeing you last night. Morning, Dan, and all the chat. Kuva, how we doing, mate? You know what? You gave me an issue last night, where to the point that after the show, and went to bed and that, talking to my wife and that, and just mentioning what you said about Tim Werner. Don't worry about tackling him. We're safer if we let him have the shot on goal. Mate, that was bad. But it's very true. Right, I've got a guest on the back who I've said she's more than willing to come on if she wants to, and she has showed her face. We have Queen Elly.
Yes, I have. I was just putting my face on, right? Because I only woke up about an hour and a half ago.
Surely you don't need to do that. Don't give me that.
Right? You know, women at my age do. Trust me.
No.
Right. I'll leave the camera off for a little while because I'm in my bathroom and Angela's in the living room working, and she's working from home. So I've got to keep my voice down a little bit low. But I agree with Kuva.
I thought that was hilarious. An epic. I thought that was an epic comment you made there.
My side.
I thought that was an epic comment. I mean, I must admit,
He's not a stand-up comedian, he should be one.
When I was explaining it to my wife, like she'd actually watched the show as well, as she always does. She supports me a lot on that.
Lovely.
And when I spoke about it, it just gave me the giggles again after. I must admit, I thought that was brilliant. But it's so true, isn't it? Don't bother going for the tackle for him. Just let him have a shot. You're safer. Right, I just need to catch up on a bit of the side because yesterday I went over an hour behind. I'll probably do the same again. But it's like I say, I am not a multitask. I am a man. Right, me at football. Chris, morning. I was threatened too. Right, Bill, morning. Dan, morning to you too, mate. Get rid of that fraud Arteta out of my club. Big up, Dan. What a bad weekend.
Love it.
It was a bad weekend for everyone, but I think that weekend was worse for Arsenal. They could have just screwed that up because we all know City get into gear in the last, 10 games of the season, and then they just steam it. Badder, good morning to you, mate. Big up everyone. Kuva, it seems a hell of a coincidence that Ryan Mason features in the staff for both Conte and Ange, doesn't it? My opinion on this one is that it hurt when it got said last night, but it's so true. I think we are just trying to train him up to be a new manager, like a Frank Lampard sort of thing. Elly, I'll leave you to go on that one.
Yeah. I agree with most things Cooper says, so I'm not going to go against him.
He speaks common sense.
Sorry?
He speaks common sense.
Yeah, he does, right? And if he says anything that I don't agree with, I'll give my reason why I don't agree with it. But the main thing is he's funny, he's got comedy gold with it, so it makes it even more interesting. He's got a way with words, Cooper. He's got a different way with words that ring true to all Spurs fans who love the club dearly with their heart, because he only wants the best for Spurs. And last season, he didn't even want to watch Spurs. That's how bad it was. But when you think about it, I don't agree with him about Conte, because Conte's just like Ange. If he was given the minerals, don't you think he'll still be here?
No.
Of course he would be. He had Dyer, Sanchez, and
I know. But we've done that one enough times, yeah? So I'm not going to go into that one. But we all know Conte.
I'm reiterating it, Dan, to back you up as well, because you say some very good stuff as well.
I just think his style would work, but I'm not going to go into the Conte one. But we all know Conte after 2 years always leaves and destroys a club anyway. But he usually wins something with them first.
Yeah.
But I don't even think that was comedy, what Kuva said there. What Kuva said there isn't even comedy. It's a painful look at the future of what could actually be a fact. Right, just going to catch up on a couple more before I want to get to my first points. Right, Bill, what credentials has Jedi, I don't even know what you mean by that one, got other than he's Australian? Oh, right, a Jedi net. I get what you're saying now. Of course, Ange picked him to be the coaching staff, arrogant and ultimately... Well, if that's what you think, mate, fair play. Right, Lily White Lane. One thing's clear is that we need a proper set-piece coach, or positioning defending corners and free kicks are a joke. Yes, they are, mate. But some of these players have been playing for how long now? They should have... Look, I don't care. Even if a player is 18, he should have common sense. Surely they realise what isn't going right themselves, and maybe they need to make a few decisions themselves as well. I know we have to go by what the manager says, left, right and centre, this and that. But for God's sake, come on, boys. Fix up. Use your common sense. Which is one thing quite a few players at Spurs just don't seem to have. Lily White, again, really like Ange, but sometimes think he's stubborn. Stubborn, yes, or is it naive, or is it ignorant? Only time will tell on that one. This is what I've said. I will make my judges on what I see this season with him, and I have, and I've bigged him up as well, and I've also ripped him up as well because he deserves it on both sides. But I will make my judge next season, 6 months into the season, on whether I'm seeing my manager adapting or not. So anyone who's going on about Ange out now, this and that, no. To me, that's just... There would be no point in it. There's just no point. We have to see how he starts doing next season. I back him up. I'm with him. I just don't agree on certain parts of the way he plays. But we all look on football differently, don't we, Elly? We all see it out of two different, like our own two eyes, not everybody else's. I'll see bits in the game that you won't. You'll see bits in the game that I don't, innit?
Yeah, everybody knows that I'm Levy out, right? For a lot of reasons. But you can't blame Levy for Romero not marking Chris Wood and being strong, and or Van der Ven marking Chris Wood, and you put Maddison marking him. Come on, what is that all about? Madison, 5'9", 5'10", who's like skinny as hell, against Chris Wood. Come on.
There you go. Right.
Do you know what it is? It's lack of responsibility as well. They think if I mark Chris Wood and he scores, they're going to blame me. That's what Steve Perriman said as well. And I'll say
some of it is just crazy. Right. I just need to read out a super chat on here. Probably one of the first I've had. Daryl Denton, £10. Thanks, mate. Much appreciated. Probably one of the first I've had.
Lovely.
And much appreciated, mate. Said enough, just showing some love. Mate, thank you very much. It's very appreciated. I do appreciate it.
You could feed the snake for another week.
You know what? To feed the snake, I might
as well. I could bring some.
I might as well just put a mouse trap out in the back garden, or let the snake out there, and it could easily eat the stuff as well. Right, going to Lily White again, and again, thank you, Daryl Denton. That is much appreciated, mate. Right, Lily White Lane, sometimes think the stubbornness lets him down. Not asking him to completely change his system, but sometimes a few tactical tweaks wouldn't hurt. Mate, you just repeated what I've been saying for the past 4 months. And that's exactly what it is. Right, Chris, what have you got to say there, mate? I mean, you seem a very technical person whenever we talk about football, which I like, because with football, there is a lot more techniques than a lot of people actually realise. A lot of people just seem to think football is about kicking the ball forward and scoring a goal. No, it's not. And you'd be surprised how many people don't actually realise that. Right, set pieces. To repeat what I said on Mia's, you can have the best coaches in the world, but if the player doesn't produce the goods, that said, everyone is accountable in some shape or form. Totally agree with you, mate. That's basically what me and Elly just said earlier with, like, if the players ain't doing it, you can have the best coaches on the planet. It's all got to work as a system, hasn't it? Yeah. Same as you can't just blame the manager for everything. Players, you can't blame them for everything. You're right on what you're saying there. I'll make you 100% right. Ben Kaufman, how you doing, mate? Morning to everyone. We're an arrogant football club. Yes, we are. Very much so. I think we are very much arrogant. I think we are ignorant. I think we are naive. I think this football club is a hell of a lot of things. And that is where I'm going to get to my point now. Elly.
Yes.
And just for you, Lily White Lane, he says big up, Elly. So my question is, and a question for everybody on the side as well, yeah? Are we just puppets as supporters of Spurs, yeah? Now, I understand you could say that about most football clubs, really. Most fans at most football clubs are puppets in their own way. They just follow how it goes. But a lot of other fans at other clubs don't take the crap that we do, haven't taken the crap that we do, and never would take the crap that we do, and they would do something about it. And my other question is with it, with Ange, with a couple of comments he has made and a couple of things he has stated, I'm starting to think he's just another puppet as well. Just another puppet manager who is just saying what he needs to say to keep Levy happy. Now, I do understand that you have to say what you have to say just to keep your boss happy, because otherwise you don't want to get the sack. Yeah. But one thing about Conte, he had the bottle to speak it out. He always did. Not many other managers do that. But one comment I want to bring up on here that really does chew on me, basically, yeah? And I've said it on other ones. I'll read it out, because I want to see what you think of this, Elly, yeah? And I want to see what other people translate this as, how they will see this as, yeah? I'll put it up on the screen. I think not just stars for the future, but also solid players. I don't expect any superstars. We know Tottenham's strategy is different from this. The strategy at Spurs is to sign 2, 3, 4 different players rather than just one superstar. This is the clear project of the club. Now, to me, I translate that in Ange basically just saying, I know that Levy's not going to give me the money to buy some quality players, and I'm just gonna, I'll accept what he gives me, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, is he just basically admitted that he's another puppet, just accepting the way that Levy's going to do it? I read that out as yes, he has, and I read it out as blatantly we are going to go for quality, not quantity. How do you see that? How do people on the side see that?
I see it like you do. The thing is, there's managers like Conte who speak his mind and say it as it is, and everybody. I think 95% of our fan base agreed with what he said, but they just didn't like the way he said it. In terms of he didn't dig himself out either, right? And I think Ange is playing the not the fall guy, but is similar to a fall guy in respect that you take on what the club is preaching and you're falling in line with what the club is preaching because that's what they've always done. And us fans, the ones who are sick and tired of it, will speak out like Conte did, in a way like when we're at the Grand, we talk about it. When we're on the protest, we talk about it. But it's like taboo when it comes to a lot of sections of the Spurs fans. They're quite dismissive of what he's actually said, and they don't see what we see. They're not reading between the lines. Yeah, so we've accepted Dross. Like when you think about it, when you sign players like Werner, if we sign him and Johnson, you're accepting third rate because they are third rate. They're not first class in my book. First class is your first class players. They're not in that category. Johnson might get to second class, but it's like Ange is accepting of it, and he shouldn't be. You should be saying to the club, I want the best players. I want to be Tottenham Hotspur, who once were a proud and glorious club and actually nurtured their young players and brought them forward. I don't know if you saw Hotspur Hit Me, Paul Trevelyan. He was fantastic. I'll urge everybody to watch that show, right, on Hotspur Hippie, because it was brilliant. And the guy, he talks about Ron Burgess, right? These are the standards we've got to get back to if we want to win the league, because we're nowhere near it. We're nowhere near it. All right, we're saying 13 points, but when you look at Man City, they're steamrolling ahead, and we're losing to Newcastle 4-0 because we haven't got the quality.
So you do believe that basically Ange is just another puppet?
Yeah, and I don't like to say it. I don't like to say it because I do respect him as a manager, but he's pulling the club line. He's towing the club line. He is. It's clear and plain in that written English that he's written down.
There we go. So, Ben, good to see you, mate. How you doing?
Morning. I'm all right. I didn't watch the football at the weekend because I had better things to do with my life than watching the Spurs getting tonked 4-0.
You had better fish to fry.
Ladies' game.
I had bigger fish to fry and a much better day, and the sun was shining. But it's really funny is that you brought that quote up earlier. That quote is exactly the same quote as Antonio Conte said, just in an Australian accent, and he said mate after it rather than an Italian accent. It's exactly the same thing. The club want young players we can build into Champions League footballers rather than players to make the team win. It's exactly the same thing. He's written it on the wall. He's written it on the wall. And people say, oh, Ange doesn't want £100 million players. You don't need 100 million. We've proved it. What you need is if you do need a player like a Locatelli, if you need a player like this.
I would love him at Spurs, mate.
If you need a player that's
I would love him at Spurs.
Of money and it's going to fit the system, you buy him. You buy him. But we have shown over the last 24 years, or basically my entire life of watching Tottenham, when push comes to shove, we'd rather buy 4 average players than one quality player. And 2 managers in a row have said it now. 2 managers have said it.
Just in different ways.
Just in different ways, from a different point of view. One from a more open attacking point of view, one from a more defensive point of view. Yeah. But the language is the same. The lingo is the same. A lot of people think that managers all talk to each other. They all talk to each other. I bet at one point Ange has spoken to Antonio Conte about it. I bet they've had a chat about this.
That would not surprise me.
All managers talk with each other. They all war in on the touchline and they have arguments. After a game, they're whining and dining. They have great chats. They all go out for lovely dinners together. They're all up Chaconies and they have a good laugh. And he's told us what Antonio Conte has said. What are we going to do about it? If we do not back him with the players he needs, it's just going to be another Conte situation. The team's going to fall apart. They're going to get fed up with the training methods. They're going to say the training methods are too hard for us, and they're going to throw him under the bus.
Now, with everything you've just said there, you've basically just done what Conte and Ange do. You've said it in a much better way where people will take it a bit softer. I would say in a much more Conte way where people almost take offence to it.
Yeah.
He's told us exactly what we've heard.
Obviously, I want superstars at Spurs. We all want superstars. It depends what you call a superstar. What did they used to call them? A Galactico. Whatever you want to fucking call it. Sorry, it's first thing in the morning.
We've had them and we sold them.
Yeah, but they weren't even superstars when we got them. Yeah.
No, they weren't.
Got another person backstage that wants to come on. I will put you on now, and we'll come to you in a minute, Chris. Hope also.
Good morning, everyone.
Right.
Good morning.
I think you need to turn your mic down just a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Don't know how I can do that.
Yes, I want Spurs to go and get a quality player, a very, very good quality player to make that point. Yeah. You haven't got to spend 100 million to do that. But then if we're willing to go and spend 65 million on some average player like Richarlison, we could spend 65 million in Europe and get a quality player for that.
Yeah.
Quality player. I mean, 2 players I would love to see.
That we need as well.
Yes. And then we could go and spend 40 million on 3 other players. And I'll be happy with that, but we won't. We'll go and get maybe 1 player for 40 million and then another 3 or 4 for 20, 25, 30 million. And that is what we do at Spurs. And for me to take Spurs seriously, I know it's basically repeating myself, but I need to see us buy at least 3 players that go bang, 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 straight in that team. At the moment, we don't even really want to get players that can challenge the players that we got there for their places because they're just not good enough anyway. So we don't want them to challenge it. We want them to actually be good enough to go, bang, there you go, you're in the team. And then we build up from there to get players that can compete with them. Because at the moment, we have not got a solid enough team to buy players that compete for that place. We need players that are going to walk in and take that place on the wings, the DM basically, or a striker. I know we can't get it all, but surely we can go out there and instead of doing 20, 30, whatever, go and do 50, 60 on 3 players. And we're already a significantly better club. So Chris, seeing as you've just come on, mate, and everyone's had their opinion on this one, and you've obviously heard everything I said.
Sure.
So, what is your opinion on this? I mean, as Spurs supporters, we are all basically just puppets, majority of us, because all of a sudden something goes good at Spurs and we either think we're going to win the league or we think everything's changed because League's made 1 or 2 decisions. I think that one goes without saying. But what is your opinion on what Ange said, what I read out, and what is your opinion on Ange's just being another puppet, basically?
Is the mic better now? Because is it?
Yeah,
that's fine. Yep. Okay. Thanks. Sorry about that. I didn't realise it was so high up.
That's all right, mate.
Firstly, good morning to everybody, and thanks for the opportunity for coming on. Hello to everyone in the chat. My opinion, look, I don't know. I mean, it can be taken so many ways. I like the guy. I think he's won over our hearts, possibly. I mean, I speak for myself. By the way he talks, he's pretty, consistent. And whether he's a puppet or not, I mean, I heard you say that the other day, and I'm like, I never really thought about it that way. And of course, I've got my opinion, which I hope is respected.
We all have.
Or respected. Yeah, exactly. I don't think he is, but we're only going to see that in the summer transfer window and in the December transfer window over time, right? We know that we've got a bad history. We know we've got a bad history under Levy the last 25 years. You call it what you want, but if we're going to put our faith into Ange, the way he plays, his stylistically, tactically, the way he holds himself in public, and all of this, you have to break away from your Contes, your Mourinho's, the fact that we didn't back Poch. We got to break away from the errors of the past and clean slate. We've got to do this. We can't just, trundle forward with our feet still in the mud from the past. And I know it's difficult. Right? But we have to. We can't just say, yeah, but you know what happened 3 years ago when we didn't buy him and we could have bought him, and it's going to happen again. Yeah, it might do, but we won't know that until it happens or not. And that's why we have to keep our minds open and hope that it changes. I know hope, and I know that happened 10 years ago. It probably happened 17 years ago, 4 years, but we're talking about Ange. He's different to Conte. He's different to Mourinho. And I think that because they backed him with a 4-year contract, they backed a manager that has proven to be able to function with players that are not 50, 60, 70, 80, right? He hasn't said that he needs these megastars, while the others said, you bring me the tools, I'll do it. He hasn't said that. Right, and going, for example, just to link that onto what Ben says, I'd love to see Locatelli play in any team because I think Locatelli's class. There are other players that are class, that are better, some that are worse. But if Locatelli doesn't fit your style of play, he doesn't fit your system, right? If he's tactically not sound for the way you want to play, Locatelli isn't valid. You're going to have to get the next best thing or the slightly worse thing, right? And it might be £4 million more, £10 million less. Do you know what I mean? But he has to be the right fit for what you want to do, for your vision. Because there's no point in Pep Guardiola going out and say to Man City, right, I want to sign Romero and bring him in for 80 million. If Romero doesn't do what Pep wants to do, there's no point in going for Romero. Do you know what I mean?
Then Pep wouldn't buy him. That's exactly what I'm saying. So because Pep has a way, because Jurgen has a way, because Mikel has a way, because Xabi Alonso has a way, because Mourinho has a way. Right. They might all have a way.
Wants to set up. Sorry, I didn't.
They might all have a way, Chris. But again, Ange just basically just admitted that we're going to go for quantity, not quality. He's basically said it on there.
No, I'm sorry. I don't agree with that, Dan. I apologise. And sometimes the chats are misconstrued because they're only words. At the end of the day, you have to express them with context. And quantity over quality. No, because the quality is how a player fits into the way you want to play. And that player might be even better than just a name, you see. Because Bergvall, who we signed, might be a better fit for how Ange wants to play because he doesn't delay the play as much as Locatelli might. And he's 20 years old, 18 years old, but his way of fitting in, his way, his vision, the feeling of the game might say, well, I see Sonny moving, right? And Locatelli might not see Sonny moving. It's just so nuanced. But football is so precise sometimes, or imprecise if you don't make that pass. Which is exactly what Madison was saying about the game.
You're saying, Chris. Sorry to cut you off, but we can't put all of our hopes and dreams on an 18-year-old. That is what we're doing. But Lucas Bergvall might be fantastic, but he's 18. So I see Lucas Bergvall, if he's what he's looking at and he progresses like he's been doing in Sweden, he will be a top player for the next manager because Ange only
was just an example.
Yeah, I know, but that is an example, but we we have only backed one manager in the history of Levy with a second contract. So I know what you're saying. We've got to forget the past, but you do need to use the past to predict the future. And in the history of this ownership and this philosophy of football that Levy's trying to build, we've only ever have one manager that signed a second contract. They rarely. I mean, it's hen's teeth. That's how rare it is for a manager to be given a contract and to sign it. So we do need to be optimistic. But when you've not had, you've got to have optimism with hope of it being followed through. And we don't follow through with that optimism because, again, Pochettino's the only manager that signed a second contract. They never last halfway during their term. So we hope Ange gets a second contract. But again, he's no spring chicken. He's 59 years of age. When he does get his second contract, he'll be 63 years of age. And at that age, he's going to want to be signing off and saying, I'm 63 years of age. I've got enough money for the rest of my life.
We don't know. We don't know.
Hang on a sec. I understand that. Yeah? Right. Elly, I'll come to you next. The point I'll make here, I mean, Chris, you've made some good points there, yeah? But I think this one is 3-1. But as far as I'm concerned, anyone who comes on here is entitled to their opinion. I'm always willing to get their opinion. I get your point, but I do not agree with it. But I get it. And that's all I ask people to do.
I'm not here to
at least
get anybody.
No, well, that's not what I'm saying, yeah? What I'm saying is some people don't even want to get the point. Some people are just so set on their own point that they won't even try and get the other person's point. But I get your point, but I can't say I agree with it. The point I want to make quickly before I come to you, Elly, is basically, Ben, what you've just said is right. But I'll translate this different how I see it. I see it that basically if any three of you come to me for a job, what do I look at? I look at your CV. I look at your history. I look at your past. And if your past is as crap as Spurs' past 24 years, you ain't getting the job. So history does mean a lot. You can't change history. We all know that, yeah? You can only, to an extent, have a say in the future by your actions that happen now. So, Chris, I can make you right on that part, yeah? I totally understand that part. Not just get it, I understand it, yeah? We have got to put it all aside because we just got to look for the future and how it's going to go. But going back to what Ben just said, on the CV history, you ain't getting the job. I don't care if you tell me that I'm going to be better in the future. I will turn up on time. I will never be late, whatever else. They're just examples. You ain't getting the job. But I totally understand that point of what you're saying. Right, Elly, go for gold.
Yeah, I just want to go on the aspects of what an Ange player is, right? Because there's a common misconception about footballers, right? I know this because I was a footballer myself, right? And there's certain skills that I've got and certain skills that I haven't got. And I know there's certain skills I can adapt to, right? So when they're looking and scouting, right, they're scouting for a player who can move the ball quickly, who's very good at moving the ball quickly and doesn't do a stray pass, right, accurately. And they're looking for somebody with an engine, because you've got to have an engine to play Ange ball, because we've seen it with our players. Some of them haven't got the engine and they run out of puff, and then we lose the game because of it. Not only because of that, but it's one of the biggest factors. And he's looking for players that can are quite creative, but they know where the goal is and they know how to move the ball across the 6-yard box. Because I've noticed, right, we're not shooting from distance so much, right? And that must be a direct coaching.
Hardly ever.
We've scored a few, but not like we did under Conte and Mourinho and other managers that we've had in Poch. We were scoring lots of worldies, especially in Sonny's 23-goal Golden Boot era, right? So there's a direct coaching. So they're looking for those type of players, right? But why not look for other different players that make your team more of a team and you don't get sussed out so much, right? Because we are getting sussed out a little bit because they know we're going to do your Dogie, Burner, go down the byline, cross it against the 6-yard box.
Exactly.
Mix it up a bit. Do you think Glenn Hoddle, right? I know I love Glenn Hoddle, so I'll always bring up his name. Do you think Glenn Hoddle was that type of handball player? No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
Would he fit in that system? No, he wouldn't, because they wouldn't want that type of player. They'd want someone like Steve Perryman, who can move the ball quickly, but is not as gifted as Glenn. But you have to have your gifted players.
Yeah.
You have to have your creatives, because they're the ones who unlock defences. They're the ones who score the worldie goals. So they should be looking for a different portfolio of some of the players that can add to Ange Ball. That's what my own person, because I've been a coach as well, and I would never want loads of similar players. I wouldn't.
Exactly.
You have to have something different.
Exactly. In an aspect, you do want players to have the same frame of mind to an extent. Because I remember when I played football, I mean, the only reason I didn't get further in football is because I was too short. I'm only 5'10", and I used to be a goalkeeper at first. And the reason I failed at Kent was basically because they didn't like the way I played the football, because I come off my line too much because I was a bit short to always stand on my line. But everyone's got to have a mentality of knowing, when I played defensive midfield, which was one I did love playing, getting stuck into the game, even with people that I didn't talk to on that pitch, because we had a couple of players in the people in the squad, I didn't like them. They didn't like me. As soon as it got off the pitch, we wouldn't even talk. But 8 times out of 10, I could turn my back in that game and kick the ball to a position where I knew one of my other players would be. Even though I didn't like the fella, the main one that I played alongside, he always knew where I was. He always knew where I always knew where he was.
That's cool.
That's about players knowing each other and having the same mentality. Right, quick thing I want to read out here. Phil 2109. Tell me how it is fair that fans pay top dollar to see the team, but when it comes to transfers, Spurs are scraping at the bottom of the barrel. Mate, this is a brilliant point. And do you know what? I'm not going to go into it because otherwise we'll be debating Levy all morning into the afternoon. Yeah. But I'm just going to say with it, I totally agree with you, and I'll give you my point on it quickly. And I'm not going to go to everyone else because otherwise we will be sitting here all morning debating Levy again. When I go shopping, and if I go House of Fraser and I buy myself an expensive pair of jeans, I don't expect to get Asda or Sainsbury's quality. But at Spurs, we seem to shop at House of Fraser and we only get a pair of jeans from Asda. That is my opinion on that. But I'm going to leave that at that one because otherwise we will just
it's the argument whether that's the traditional argument, isn't it, Dan? I've always been the person, because I work in the buying of quality product. Coffee is one of the highest grossing elements on the planet. It's second in the world behind oil. And you buy quality. If you buy quality coffee from a quality farm, you're going to get quality. You're not going to get pound shop. And I think Tottenham, the business of football isn't more like a consumer business. It's more like an airline business now. That's what Tottenham has tried to do. You're all going in the same place, but you're paying for different experiences. That's how Tottenham operates. They operate like a luxury airline. But we're a luxury airline that's been circling in the airport for 24 years. Eventually, we're on
EasyJet.
We need to land.
Exactly.
Land that plane.
And the other thing is with what I said, you can go and buy 10 pairs of jeans from Asda, and I guarantee those nice pair of Hugo Boss, Armani, whatever else.
Yeah.
I bet you they're there like 5 years later, mate. And they've only just maybe even started losing a bit of colour. Whereas the other ones don't even fit your backside anymore, and they're just hanging off of you, and they've ripped in the wash. There we go.
The other ones are in the bin. The other ones are in the bin.
Exactly.
Or even quality,
you have to pay
quality jeans, even as they get old and a bit ragged, they still look good. They still perform.
They still fit your ass.
I don't mean to make it a jean conversation. I bought these for 140 quid 8 years ago. They're starting to get holes in. They look cool. They still look good. They evolve. They evolve. Whereas crap quality, it rips, it breaks, and that's the end of it. If you get quality,
these players, isn't it? That is basically players.
the best quality players, like Bentancur, for example, although he's lost a bit because of his injuries, because he is quality, I see him adapting his game and finding better ways to be more effective with his new issues. Whereas someone like a Basuma, I see Basuma dropping off the edge of the cliff at the moment.
I think he's already done it, mate. I think he's already done it. I mean, for me, Basuma is one that if he keeps going, I'd rather get rid of him before I would Højbjerg. So, right, just want to read out a couple of the slides on that because, like I say, I do get behind on this lot. Right, Kova. There is nothing wrong with turning young players into Champions League players. We just don't do it. We signed Gil, Werner, Johnson, Ritchie, and similar to two of those aren't even youngsters. Again, basically, the way I portray what you've just said, you've basically just said what me and Ben have just said about buying a cheap pair of jeans and a quality pair of jeans. If we want to do something, and Ange is talking about that he don't care about top four, okay, I get that for the first season. He just wants to see progress in the team. Totally. We need to progress to get further. But if we're going to buy these 18-year-old players that can all of a sudden become good in 2 or 3 years, when they're not going to get a chance on the pitch over the players that we've got already, where's the bloody progress? This is where we need players now. This is where we need players that can walk into that team now. This is why I do not like what has been said here in the fact of Spurs' strategy is we sign 2 or 3 or 4 different players instead of one superstar. No, not one superstar I want, but I want 3 quality players. Quality. We go and get that. We've still got the quantity in the background. But we don't. We just go and usually go and get the cheap version. I mean, we landed on our feet in the last transfer window. Vicario was not our first choice goalkeeper, but thank God we got him. I didn't want Raya from day. Van der Ven, he was not our first choice. Tapsoba was our first choice, but we just weren't willing to pay the money in his wages. But Van der Ven, God, did we land on our feet with that one as well? But a majority of the time, you really don't. And we can't just keep buying these younger players or these half-decent players and expect to go somewhere. But a lot of people seem happy with it. And I just do not understand why. Do we actually want to make progress as a club? Or are we just happy fighting for top 4?
I think we do. Listen, regarding Tapsoba, for example, I followed Tapsoba whenever we were signing him. I stuck stuff on the channel. And to go from Germany where he was earning whatever he's earning and to say that, for example, to say that we weren't willing to pay whatever they were asking and his wages, I don't know that. I can't blatantly say that that was the case. That's what the press say. And sometimes the media splurge out whatever they want, right? We went for Mickey van der Ven, which is a second choice, third choice, 18th choice, whatever the case may be. And we've got a bloody stellar centre back there, right? And no one's complaining about Mickey. And he wasn't first choice.
Not at all. I'm not complaining about him.
No, exactly. But no one's complaining about Mickey, right? You complain about style, you complain about tactics every day and all day to the moon if anybody wants, right? But no one's complaining about Mickey. And he's probably the best defender we've got in many people's opinions, right? But he was second choice, third choice, 10th choice, right? Vicario wasn't first choice according to who? We don't know. But the fact of the matter is, football's not so two-dimensional as I say. Whenever you go out, and I'm sure Elly knows about this, and I don't know what you know about football, but it's not so point-blank two-dimensional. We go for him. If not, we go for him. They've got so many players on the books that are similar. Can he play with his feet? Is he good with his hands? Is he good in the air? And this is all basic stuff, right? It's not Football Manager. It's, and we all know this. If it's not the first one, it's the third one. The third one doesn't want to come because he doesn't want to relocate because his family, because his kids are in school. Well, he's out of the books then. So we go for the second one. The second one can come. Yeah, but he can't come. Well, bollocks. Well, we go for the fifth one. And they're all very similar. Whether they're good or not, whether they turn out, God knows, because maybe your defence, blah, blah, blah. It's so nuanced, football. But we've got a bloody good keeper and he cost us 15 million. And he was second choice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's all up and down.
That is what I've just said to you, Chris.
exactly.
I've just said we landed on our feet with that one, and most people didn't even know
with
Vicario.
With that one,
Yeah.
right? But that's the point. But
Vicario was already bought, basically. Inter Milan had already basically had his contract written out, and that is a fact.
They had an agreement. They had an agreement with Empoli. They had an agreement with Empoli a long time ago that he would be #1 keeper when Onana was sold, right? And Onana went to Man United.
So they had to sell Onana first, but he hadn't gone, and we just stepped in and took him. Brilliant.
Right.
But how many times? I totally get your point on that you make a list of players. I totally get your point on that we always make you've got to have a list. You can't just say, right, that's one player we want. The only ones who do that is people like Man City who says, we want him, we're going to get him. But again, we 9 times out of 10 always seem to go for the cheaper version. Always seem to go for the player that could become good. What I'm saying is, I want us to go for players that are proven good now, and you're pretty sure they're going to get better, and players that will get into that squad and improve that squad there and then.
But it doesn't guarantee you anything.
Before Elly speaks, because Ellie's probably got a better point. It's why we should have gone to a database system years ago. And we have never been part of the data. We always seem to be doing shots in the dark. But I know Manchester City and they've got stupid money and they can buy any player in the world if they so be it, even though they never, apart from the Jack Grealishes of the world, they never spend 100 million. Very rarely do they spend like extreme money, but they spend 60 million here, 50 million. They use a database system, and that's down to Tixi Begiristain, the best director of football in the history of football. They roll around the stats and they roll around it. They get the scouts to watch him, and they say that player's getting in the team. And 9 times out of 10, a player that signs from Manchester City is getting in their team, and they're going to be a banger. They rarely get a lemon. They've obviously got a lemon with Calvin Phillips, but that's because of injuries. That's because of the style of football. Maybe football evolved in a different way. Maybe Pep Guardiola saw football going in this way, but then football ended up going that way. Again, it is a bit of nuance because football evolves day in, day out with different managers coming into the league and then figuring out other ways of football. But we've taken so long to get into a database system, and we look like we're flailing, and that's why people flail at the point of cheaper options. It's not cheaper options. In effect, it's different players that offer a different skill set and different contexts. But we need to start using this data system because Inter do it, Juventus do it, City do it, Arsenal do it, Chelsea have done it. I know Chelsea are an absolute mess at the moment, but that's because of the ownership. It's not necessarily because of the football club. It's them trying to throw everything in the world and hopefully they get and something sticks and works. But we look like we're flailing. We look like we panic half the time when we get sales. And when it works, it's like brilliant. But it's because it's because we're jumping from this philosophy to that philosophy. We go from attacking manager to defensive manager, attacking to manager. We're constantly flipping back and forward between styles. We don't know what we're doing. If we now implement this philosophy and we're going to say, this is how we're going to play for 15 years, that the only thing that's going to change is that manager is going to fit between those guidelines. We need to start. So almost, I know you're right, Chris. It's not Football Manager, but the managers are starting to play it like Football Manager because they're looking the attributes of the team. Does this player fit that the job description I want in my team? Do the numbers reflect the job I want in the team? We'll sign him.
Can he run? Can he sprint? Can he pass? And right, hang on a second.
No, the fact of the matter is,
Chris, hang on a second.
Sorry.
I'll come to you in a sec. Yeah, Ellie's going to be next. I just want to read this out from Tony.
Yeah.
People need to take a chill pill regarding. I can't even pronounce. Yeah, I am terrible at pronouncing names.
Don't worry.
Just call it a London accent, whatever you want to say.
We forgive you.
He's 18. He's 18 and he plays in the Swedish. He plays in the Swedish league. I'll leave that one. Which is a crap league. We all know that. I have seen him many times. He's not taking spot at Spurs next season. Now, one thing that was said with that, I'll just answer that one quickly before I go with you there, Elly. Yeah. Stel sees a bit of what goes on behind the lines and everything else and that, and so do a couple of other people. And it has pretty much clearly been stated that a lot of these younger players haven't been given a chance this season, which there's a few times that they maybe could or should have been given a chance because the manager and that just don't think they're good enough. And that is that basically. Yeah. You just cannot get in an 18-year-old, and he might be quality here, there, and everywhere. You're coming to the Premiership now, mate. It's a total different kettle of fish. So I agree 100% on what he says. Right, Elly, on everything you wanted to say on what's just been said, go for gold.
Right. You know, sometimes I go into my Paratici mode and I put my sunglasses on and get the phone out, sell, buy, right? This is to make you laugh, right? So I've got my little black book, right? And I've got 10 names that Postecoglou wants on there, right? And I know realistically I can only get 2 of those to attract them to come to Spurs. Because I've done my pitch. I've said Spurs are an up-and-coming team. We're going places with Ange. You know, we haven't won anything for a long while. So if you come here, you're going to be hailed as a hero if you even win 1 trophy, right? So I've done my pitch. And then the player buggers off to Liverpool. Because he's looked at their CV and said, bloody hell, I've got a good chance of winning something here, but shall I go to Tottenham instead? Who are promising me this? They're promising it to me, but they're not delivering it in their history of the last 24 years while Levy's been in charge. So what do I do? Do I take a punt and go to Tottenham? Or do I go to Safeway and go to Liverpool? That's what Spurs are fighting against. To get these
Spurs are a stepping team, aren't we? We were stepping stone, basically.
At the moment we are, because we've lost our history. We've got to go back to our history, right? Because people say don't look back. You have to look back to go forward. That's my opinion, right? It might be an old-fashioned opinion, but you look back at what we did right then and what we're doing wrong now, and rub the 2 together. They go together, yeah? So that we can attract these players. We start winning things. You get the money, which Levy's trying to do. I commend him for that, right? He's trying to get money so we can compete with his big knobs, right? Then you get the power. Man City have got the power because they've got Pep Guardiola as their coach. And look how he's coached them into a football team like Barcelona, prime Barcelona.
Just to pick you on one point you said there, though.
And then you get the trophies because it goes with the territory.
Okay, I get that. But one point you said there, yeah, if I understood it right, if I misunderstood it, do tell me.
Yeah.
You got to look at the history. What history? Spurs don't have a history. We can all talk. I mean, if you want to get like that, hang on a second. Yeah.
We've got a fantastic history.
Yeah, hang on a second. No, we don't. We have got a history of being nothing more than a cup-winning club. That is it.
No. We were the first club. We were the first club to do the double for 64 years.
Yeah, but Elly, Nottingham Forest have won the Champions League.
You look at what Bill Nicholson did. He came up from the second division.
No,
he won the first division as a player, and then he became manager, and he was coached and looked at what Arthur Rowe did. You listen to Adrian, and you'll find out.
We're talking of a history of 80 years ago.
It isn't 80 years ago. It's 61, 60.
Okay, 61.
You've got to look what we did right then.
No, but it doesn't matter what we did then.
Totally in charge of
Elly,
everything. Now Levy's in charge of everything.
I get you, but I can't agree with that one at all, that last bit.
Let the manager take control. Let the manager take control of the club.
But let me get my point to you. Yeah.
And if he fouls, he fouls.
Right, but Elly, what do the players care? Who cares what happens?
That's what I'm saying.
Let me finish, Elly.
Yeah.
Now, Nottingham Forest, look at their history. They've got a better history than Arsenal in that aspect because they've won everything Arsenal's won, just not as much. But they've won the Champions League. Aston Villa, they've won the Champions. It was the same thing. Okay,
yeah, I know it was.
Yeah. Aston Villa have done it.
It ain't the same thing, actually.
But
it ain't the same thing. You had to be the top team.
Yes, but it's basically classed as the same sort of trophy. Same as it was Coca-Cola Cup, now League Cup, yeah? But who cares?
It's not.
Players don't care.
Team in every country, it's harder to beat them.
Yeah, I know, but Elly, if you won the cup, if you won the Champions Cup, then it still comes out. It doesn't come under a separate cup to.
Yeah.
Yes, but it doesn't come under a separate cup than the Champions League. It will say that you've won Champions League Cup 2 times, whatever. Fine, different times, different styles,
You'll
but
say
it's
you
still
won the
classed as the
European
same
Cup.
cup. Yeah, but there won't be a Champions League as a different one. It comes under the same thing.
Yeah.
So who cares what we did 60 years ago?
You
Any
should
player
care.
is going to come in. No, you shouldn't. Because
No,
any
I don't
player is
agree.
going to come in. Well, let me finish. Any player is going to come in. They ain't going to give a toss what we've done in 1960 or 1980. They want to look at Spurs and what we've done in the past 5 years, 10 years, and what we can do in the future.
I'm not
And we have
talking
done
about the
nothing.
players. I'm talking about how the club's run.
Yeah, but I'm talking about players coming to the club. So history in that
You've got
aspect
to
means
let
nothing.
the manager rule the roost. Spurs
Yes,
don't
you
do
have.
that. Spurs don't
But
do it.
But we are not going to get a top player coming to Spurs in the aspect of thinking, yeah, I'm going to go to Spurs and win something. No,
There's too
players
many-
leave Spurs because they win nothing.
There's too many egos in football now, right? Bill
No,
Nicholson
there's just
run
people who
our
want to
club
win
from
stuff.
top to bottom. That doesn't happen anymore because money's coming to it.
Yeah, I get that. But there's
That's
players,
what I'm
they
saying.
just want
Our
to win
history
stuff.
will tell you that we were most successful when the manager ran everything.
Right. Okay. But so are most
Levy
clubs.
doesn't allow
But
that.
who cares? Ellie,
I
nobody
care
cares.
because we haven't won anything.
You might, but I'm not paying 60 million for you. The players don't care. Half the fan base don't care. It's all good on the paperwork what we done 60 years ago.
I agree
But
with you in
everybody
that
complains.
aspect.
We want to win in the future now because the past is done. It's dusted. It's over.
But we won't win. We won't win unless we
So
let the manager take hold of the club and run it how he wants, and he's not allowed to.
Right,
Like
fine.
you said,
And
you said
the players
at the
know
start
it.
of the program, you said Ange is a puppet.
Mhm.
There you go. There's your answer.
And the players know it. So the players don't care about our history. Not 60 years ago. They care about our history in the past 5 years, 10 years, which shows
That's how
nothing.
you win things.
Which show us we are
Liverpool, the
failures.
most decorated country, decorated
Yeah,
club.
and
'cause they
Liverpool
let
have won the
their
league in the
manager
past
rule the
3 years
team.
and won the Champions League and everything else. So I get what you're saying, but the players don't care. They want to know what's happened in the past 2 years and what can happen in the
But
future.
for-
Right, with
Why
me
do
and
you
Buddha
Liverpool-
said
think
this.
Liverpool and
Right,
Man United
you're
are the
both
most
right
successful
in different
clubs?
time, and you're
Hang on a
both
second,
right in
hang
different time frames.
Alex Ferguson ruled the rules for 20 odd years and won absolutely everything because he was allowed to rule
Yeah.
it.
But what
That's
are
why-
Man
that's
U
what
now?
I'm saying.
But what are they now? So the players don't
Exactly.
care what he did 25 years ago. Right,
But,
so me and
they're
you
not
had our
there
point
anymore.
here,
The players
Ellie.
aren't there anymore.
Chris, go on, give your opinion on
Anyway,
this, and then Ben, I want to
No.
hear
I've
your
got to
one.
be with Kate, so
I
I've got
wanted-
to
I
go.
wanted
Thank
to-
you very much
All right,
for
Ellie,
having me
good.
on.
Good having
Thank
you on.
you very
Take care of
much.
yourself.
Big love, Ellie.
Take it easy.
What I wanted to go back on was what Ben was saying about Man City and Chiqui Biggity Stain, Guardiola and that. Of course, as most people know, and those that don't, I'm a Barcelona fan. I'm here in Spain, and I know a bit about that as well. And whether their data run or not, I do not know because I don't know about Man City. What I do know is that they are 100% committed to what is the football world, and they know, and they've got it up here, and they've got it up here since they were players. They know what to look for, and whether that data, and I'm not going to doubt Ben at all because, as I just said, I do not know how Man City are run. I do not know whether they are database driven or not. What I do know is that their professional expertise, where they've come from as players, they know what to look for, right in a player. Right,
But
and
Chris,
their background and etc. And they know exactly what they have to look for from here.
what I'm
Whether-
asking
whether-
for an answer
now,
for
they don't
is
know
what me
about-
and Ellie was just debating. You've drifted off. From
Yeah,
what
but
we
I
was
wanted
talking
to just talk about what Ben said. I wasn't given the chance, but I think that if the history you can't change, if the history Spurs has an important history, it might not have the most important history. It hasn't got a recent important history. But then, if that were the case, people wouldn't sign for Liverpool either. And Liverpool went through a very, very hazy history as well. Maybe not as bad as our one.
They
But
still
then-
won stuff.
But yes, I'm just
They
saying
still
that.
won Champions
Maybe it wasn't
Leagues.
as hazy as ours. But then, if that were the case, if that were the blanket statement case, no one would sign for Liverpool. And if that were the case, then Vicario wouldn't sign, and he wouldn't be so up in arms about signing for us. And Mickey van der Ven wouldn't be so up in arms about signing
Vicario
for us
was
as
not
well.
a big player. He had only just done his second team in Serie A. Every game he played before then, every season he'd done, he was in Serie B.
It doesn't matter about that. It's about coming to the club. We're talking about coming to the club. And if you don't have history, if you don't want to come to us, you don't come to us. Right? And the manager has his way, which is why I like Ange's way. Whether he wins, whether he doesn't, the manager has to be enticing. He has to be attractive to you to want to play under him. He has to have a way, and he's obviously convinced the players that have come in, right, regardless of Spurs history or not, recent history or 60 years ago, right. He has to have had a way with them to want them to come and to still be praising. You see what I mean? To build the future.
That's not.
That's
I
my
totally
opinion.
get you, but that's not really what me and Elly was debating. I was saying that 60 years history, 60 years ago, us doing a double, this, that, whatever, it don't mean jack now. It means nothing. Maybe to us supporters, what we've done and everything means something. We all love the history. But in the past 24 years, Spurs have got jack history, won one trophy, and players that want to do something aren't going to go to Spurs.
But
but they're still going to look at the past 5 years and say Spurs have done jack shit. They just don't look like they will.
But you're contradicting yourself, Dan. You just said they're not going to look at the past, but now they're going to look at it and say we've
not
done
the past of 60 years ago.
They're either going to look at it or they're not going to look at it. Dan.
They're going to look at the past. I think it's the wrong word. The past. It's modern history rather than the past.
That's where I'm
modern
going.
History.
Right. Still, I'll come to you in a second.
People are going to look at modern history, which most players at the moment grew up in, and nappies around probably 2000s when I was growing up at school. That's when they're going to look at. They're going to look at the teams they grew up watching and see the glamour, the glitz, the AC Milans winning the Serie A's. They're going to see Juventus's. They're going to see Manchester United, which is why Man United, even though they're in an utter dire straits, can still attract players. Because I loved watching Man United when I was a kid. I want to go and be part of that. I loved watching the Liverpool team that came back against AC Milan. 3-0 down in Istanbul. I want a bit of that history. I want to touch that sign. They look at modern history rather than looking at.
I get that.
For me, the reason.
But then why would any player go to any club then? Why would Boniface leave? I don't know where he was, Switzerland or Netherlands, and go to Bayer Leverkusen. Well, they've done fuck all in all their years. They've won in 120 years.
Leverkusen were a stepping stone. They see
it same as us.
Right, Ben, hang on same as us.
Ben,
but then
Chris,
why would a player go to a club? There has to be something there. And they got
what is your opinion on this one? Go on, mate.
What's the question?
Well, basically, me and Elly were just saying it drifted off into it. The history matters, this and that. I totally get that. A CV, you look at history and that. But as far as I'm concerned, what we did 60 years ago, who cares? Yeah? Obviously, we care as fans. But as a player, what do you care what the club done 10 years ago? What do you care what the club done 15 years ago? I think Ben put it right for me in the right figure of speech, as mine isn't the best. Players are going to look at the modern history of, let's say, up to the past 5 years. And they're going to look at Spurs and say they are nothing but a stepping stone. Whereas you can look at other clubs, even Arsenal have still won FA Cups and that going through their worst. What do you reckon on that one? Does the history of 60 years matter? Or is it 5 years? Or is it just forget the whole lot and what is possible for the future?
Why is Chris gone?
I don't know. It just seems to have cut off. If he jumps back on, I'll have him back on.
He said he needed to go. So.
What a shame. I was going to debunk what he just said. Chris is being way too rigid with what he's saying. It's black or white when he speaks about this subject. It depends on the player. If you're a top player, we saw a good example was Diaz, who went to Liverpool. Spurs wanted him. Liverpool wanted him. You're always going to go to Liverpool because of the history. Fact. He didn't go there because he prefers the colour red. He went to Liverpool because
modern history, though. Modern history. They're not going to go to Spurs. They're not going to go to Spurs because they won the double in 1960-61. They're going to go to Liverpool because they won the title 5 years ago. and they think,
I think,
this club looks like it's still got the mentality in the bones of the fan.
Well,
It's
Ben,
still got the mentality.
I think it's both. I think it's both. It's modern and new. Liverpool beat us on both. Their past history is better. Their modern history is better, right? So you're going to go Liverpool no matter what, whichever way you look at it. Whereas other players, they'll look at Spurs and say, am I better staying at Atalanta, or is it a step up going to Tottenham? Am I better staying at Wolfsburg, or is it a step up going to Tottenham? It's a step up. We're bigger. Of course it is.
And
right?
a stepping stone to the next one.
So
well, it might not be big up in terms of stature of club, but it'd be better for them as employees, because we do, even though they are,
well, even aside the club,
they're still employees, and they think, if I go to Tottenham, they might not have won as much as Wolfsburg, but they can pay me a hell of a lot more money. So they're looking at that as well. When you get to the top level, that's when wages matters lesser, because you're still, even though you might be paid 10 grand more a week, you'll be like, I can earn that by winning trophies. It's when you get to the top level.
It's a step up for wages, and it's a step up for it's a step up for wages, and it's a step up for history.
They want
and
to be
also
part
size
of the Premier League. They want to be part of the Premier League aura.
Yeah, but Spurs are bigger than Atalanta. We are bigger than Wolfsburg. Spurs are bigger than those clubs.
Yeah. And the other thing is, we're in a bigger league, and I think Dragusin is one we can use as a prime example, and even Vicario here, yeah? Dragusin come to us with an offer of less money, basically less money. But he came to Spurs, I believe, because he looks at it and thinks, I'll get game time. And then when I get better, I can get an offer to a bigger club and get game time. Going to Bayern Munich and getting game time, how Eric Dyer does it, I don't know. It's going to be a harder job than going to Spurs and getting game time. Vicario, he had many offers out there. He had Arsenal looking at him. He had Chelsea looking at him. Man U had a glance at him, but wanted Onana. Inter were basically going to buy him, and he would have got games there. But he wanted to go to the bigger league where he was going to be the first choice goalkeeper. Why didn't he go Arsenal? Why didn't he go Chelsea? Why didn't he go at Bayern Munich, who was looking at him as well? Because he went to Spurs because he knows he's going into the top league now, and also he will get games. And that's why certain players will come to us over bigger clubs.
Where did this question come from? What started the question?
It was basically just what me and Elly were talking about, and how, for me, the past of 60 years ago doesn't really mean anything. It's the past of the 5 years that means something, or the past, or looking at where Spurs can progress. And where Spurs don't progress. Spurs
are unique though, Dan, because for a big club, if we're going to be called a big club or top six, let's call it top six. We've been the most horrendous top six club in the last 30 years, right? As in, you could say, oh, Spurs the last 5-10 years, they've become Spursy, bottled jobs, and that might put players off. But the last 30 years, we've done nothing. We've literally done nothing. That is the put off. But that only changes if either you win something to show that you are now winning, or you have to change the way you target players, which I don't.
Or you get to a Champions League final, and then you look like you can go somewhere, and we done nothing.
I mean, the conversation originally, what's it called? It mutated from your bringing up of the thing, saying he's Ange a puppet after what he said, because, I mean, I've not heard I don't know if Stel's talked about this comment that he brought up, Dan, but he's basically said exactly the same thing as Antonio Conte did, but it was in an Australian accent, and he said mate instead of in an Italian accent.
So yeah,
he literally said the same thing. He said exactly the same thing, just from a different point of view.
So, Stel,
what did Ange say? So what did Ange say? What did Ange say, Ben?
You can bring it up, Dan.
What I read out on your show basically last night
money.
About when it comes down to the crunch. Let me just bring it up on here quickly.
We're
so
looking
everybody
to buy
can
4
see
young
it again.
players rather than 1 superstar.
I want to.
This one. I think
It's
Spurs,
not
not just stars, but going for futures, but also solid players. I don't expect any superstars. We know Tottenham's strategy different from this. The strategy of Spurs is to sign 2, 3, 4 different players rather than just one superstar. This is the clear project of the club. So my question was to Elly and everyone else with that one, and where me and Elly drifted and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Is he just another puppet that's just accepting Levy's way?
Can I just say it's Romero that said that, not Ange. Romano's. That's
Yeah,
the quote
but
from
he
Romano's.
stated.
Well, look, if you believe Romano and you believe he's an ITK and that he knows more than us, then you're going to believe it. If you're a bit pinch and salt with him, then you take it just as that bit of pinch and salt. Look, the proof. When we had this chat last night, Dan, I said to you, I don't listen to what managers say anymore. I don't listen because everything I've heard managers say in the past has all turned out to be either lies, wishy-washy, or maybe it is true, but it's never clear with what these managers say. Plus, they've got to say things to keep the media off their back. Plus, they've got to protect the club. Maybe managers want to throw managers under the bus to protect themselves. I've seen it all at Spurs. The only manager that's ever come and said it exactly as it is was Antonio Conte. He is the best manager we've ever hired. Not because of the football, not because he threw a grenade before he walked out the club, but because that was a winner talking. That is a winner saying it exactly as it is. And he did the one thing that Conte fears more than anything, that Levy fears more than anything else. Levy wants yes men. He wants people that come in, do it the Spurs way being Levy's way, and just toe the line, right? Don't step out of line. Conte, he did the one thing no manager has ever done. Challenged Levy and said, no, you're wrong. You have been wrong for 20 years, and I'm going to say it as it is. And this is what needs to happen here. No manager's ever done that. So I don't listen to what the managers say because they just toe the line. Ange is towing the line. Ange is towing the line because they've hired Ange because Spurs have got this blueprint. This is how we're going to be successful. We need a manager that's going to fit our blueprint. But the problem is the blueprint, it has never proven to work. There's no proof that it's worked. So rather than copying a blueprint from another club that's been successful, we've made our own one up and we say, this will work. Let's just get a manager that says yes to this. And I don't listen to what Ange says. I listen. I'll talk about it, but I don't take it as gospel. For me, show me. I don't want to hear words anymore. Show me actions. And when I look at last season, spent £220 million, and I look at the signings, we've done it again. We've signed as many players as possible for the budget. So that says to me that quote you read is probably true because that quote matches what I've seen. This summer, if the club gives Ange 150 million, 180 million, and we sign 7 or 8 players, I know for a fact in my heart and soul we're going to fail because that's the same pattern of failure of the last 20 years. And when Chris was talking about, I don't know if clubs use data analytics. Every single club uses data analytics. Data analytics has been used for years and years and years and years. We signed Steven Bergwijn from data analytics, just so people know. When scouts go and do their scouting and they put a report together and they put it on the desk of the recruitment team, there's the scouts report. There's data analytics in that. It's part of their job. This isn't anything new. The difference is Spurs have made it sound like this big new thing we're doing, this revolutionary concept to suck fans in that we're going in a new direction. It's just PR. And fans suck it up because Spurs fans are so desperate for success, so desperate to feel really energized that they will grab onto anything that's fed to them. Take a step back. Everyone uses data analytics, guys. It's nothing new. It's nothing groundbreaking. All Spurs have done is they've told you that, you know what? We use it. That's all they've done. They're just telling you that they use it. So, look, guys, we could talk about what Ange says. He says, I've just stopped believing anything until I see it. You know, Kulusevski.
It's hyper-realism. It's hyper-realism. I mean, we're in the same, even though we're probably on the different ends of the so-called negative scale, we're basically saying
negative. I love that.
We're on the negative scale. We're on the negative scale because everyone calls me
we're realists. We're on the real scale.
I'm definitely not a realist. I am literally the ultimate pessimist. We've done this for 3,000 years in my culture, but I have to see it now. I have to physically see it to believe.
Yeah.
I have to physically see a pathway, and I don't see a pathway because I've seen us flip flop so many times between different
from side to side to side.
I am the ultimate pessimist, and I will be so positive when I see that my way. I want to be put in the mud. Firstly, because my skin is awful. I really need some of that bloody nice mud because it'll help me. It'll help my skin be nice. But I've got to see it. I've got to see it fully. I've got to see it in black and white. Facts. We've done this. We've done that. We've done this, and I can say, "Cool, you've done it. Brilliant. Let's the evolution."
It's basically, like I said at the start, Ben, I can't take this team serious or Tottenham serious until I see us go and buy 3 players or even 2 players that walk into that first team straight away. It's basically what you're saying on that, yeah?
Still, if we've got 100, let's say that the club have come out and said, we've got 150 million pounds to spend. I want to see 2 players bought with that money, not 7, not 4, 2, because I know those 2 players are going to go into the squad, be exactly the framework that we need, and they're going to improve the squad. And the players that are doing somewhat well at the moment can drop to the bench, see how those better players act, and then they can look at them together and they can improve themselves. Because better players, if they've got the right mentality, I see Pape Sarr as having the right mentality because he's got a work ethic. If he sees a player that's at the top of their game, he's going to want some of that, and he's going to be close to them, and he's going to improve to be on that level. Because competition is a brilliant thing in a big business. You want that competition because it's healthy. If there's no competition, you don't improve, you don't thrive.
Okay, yeah. I'm just going to read out a couple on the side here. Right, I'll go with Chris. If we want Conte, did makes him the best manager we ever had. Yet the club continues its ways. Then he's not been the best manager. He just gave an opinion that others are in agreement in.
Yeah, full statement. So this is a full statement. Conte is the best manager we've had under Levy, not ever, just to clarify. So yet the club continues in its ways. That's because they're ignoring the best manager they've had because they don't listen to managers. So the issue here isn't that Conte is the best manager, but because the club continues in its ways, therefore Conte is not good. No, Conte's won everywhere he's been. Conte is the best manager that this club's ever brought in. We've got a chairman that isn't the best chairman for football. That's the difference. So what we do as fans quite often, like Meta Football is doing, is blame the manager, protect the chairman. Blame the manager, protect the chairman. After 17 managers, we're still.
Chris wasn't blaming the manager though. To be fair to him,
but this comment here is blaming the manager because what you're saying here is Conte is not the best manager we've had because the chairman hasn't changed his ways. No manager is going to change the way a chairman behaves unless the chairman wants to change his ways.
Very true.
That's the point I'm making.
You've got to adapt to the workforce you've got. That happens in every business. I can only say it for my business because I'm a coffee person. I worked with 3 Italians that didn't speak a word of English. So why would you stick them at the till selling coffee? You stick the only person who, in that point, was me, because I was the only one that could speak somewhat Italian, but I'm fluent in English because I'm from here. So I was able to give them, and so they could make more coffee. You've got to work with the employees you've got. And we need to spend so much money on a recruitment team to get that to work. You've got to work with the things you've got. You cannot continue doing X thing if X thing doesn't suit the employees you've got. Because we do treat this club as a business. We don't treat it as a club. We treat it as a business. You've got to work within the employees you've got because you've got to get the best out of your employees, which gets the best out of your business. If you try and work the way a Pochettino works with a Conte, it's not going to work because they're two very different people. There's such.
But Levy doesn't adapt to who he employs, does he? Because he only does it one way.
Businesses augment, businesses adapt, they change, they evolve constantly, like day to day. We don't know whether the pound's going to be worth £1 or it's going to be worth 50p tomorrow. It's the fluctuations happen in every walk of life, and you've got to. I don't want to say you've got to fly with the wind, but you've got to adapt which suits to get the grip. It's like being a rally driver. You've got to drive that gives you the grip.
You do. By the way, Chris, again, my point on data was more on Pep and Tiki. Tiki Birkenstein uses data analytics. I've been to the Etihad campus. I've got a player on trial at Man City.
Give me a minute. I'll be back. Yeah. I'm just busting to go to the toilet.
Yeah.
I'll have a chat with Ben. Man City use data analytics. Man City have been using data analytics for years. The point is, every club uses it in the world of football. Every club. Whether you're City, whether you're Championship clubs use data analytics. Obviously, some clubs have got more advanced systems. Liverpool have got a very, very advanced system. In fact, Liverpool use a system that's linked to missile launching, the precision of missile launching, that level of precision in monitoring an athlete's performance. So, the point I'm making on this all is Spurs aren't doing anything special or anything different. Do you know what, Ben? I think there's this naivety amongst fans where I don't know, maybe it's just a bias because you always want your club to be the best, but all clubs have got access to the same resources. Other than money.
It's what I was saying about managers earlier, Stel. You've made this point earlier about managers.
When it comes to scouting players and stuff.
Managers all talk with each other. You've said this many a time. Like Conte and Mourinho would despised each other in a professional sense. The moment the game ended, they'd be at the best Italian restaurant. They'd be having wine together. They'd be doing this. The best managers see what their colleagues are doing, and they're like, they want a bit of it. They will say, "Oh, what are you doing here? How do you do this? How do you do it?" Of course, there are the little aspects where they just despise each other and they don't.
I reckon they've got a WhatsApp group, Ben.
Oh, I bet they have a WhatsApp group.
Cool,
they're all posting my little memes of the club. It's brilliant.
I reckon they were calling Ange a bottle job in the WhatsApp group, and then Arteta, he was getting bottle job messages yesterday from.
And then Ange would have sent Arteta a picture of a kangaroo's bottom, to say that's what you are. But yeah, it's a different one. The club's got to evolve. The club has to evolve now. And do we see it happening? I don't see it happening. I'm 28 years old, and it's always been the same club. It's not changed since I've been alive. And what I've been saying to many older fans who are a bit more optimistic than me is this is now the younger fans like myself are jealous of their fathers and their uncles and their older brothers to an extent, not so much their older brothers, because they get to talk about the glory. They get to talk about when they saw their team win the FA Cup. They get to see when they had a cup run and it was fantastic.
Whereas the younger players see nothing, basically. Yeah. The only thing they can big up, which was a big thing, was getting to a Champions League final, but we still had nothing to show for it.
We are now, this is now the philosophy of jealousy, and jealousy makes you do awful things. Envy makes you do awful things.
I feel sorry for the younger generation of Spurs fans, and I said it.
It makes you desperate, and when you're desperate, you do your most dangerous things, and that's what's happening at the moment. But unfortunately, boys, I do actually have to jump because I've got to work.
That's fine, mate.
Not going to make itself, but thanks for having me on as always, Dan.
Take it easy. That's fine.
Always good to have a chat with you guys. Big up the chat. Catch you later.
All right, Stel, quick question for you then before you have to jump, yeah? I can't find it because it's... here we go. There we go. Alpha Spurs. If Porro is out, are we better with Emerson or Dragusin on the right? What do you think on that?
I'm a believer that if you go to a back three, Dragusin, but we're not going to do that, right? So if we assume we're going to stick to 4 at the back, which we will do,
He did play right back at Genoa a few times. And he can get
one
forward.
thing.
He's
The one
already
thing
shown
with
that
Emerson.
from centre back.
The one thing with Emerson is he's got pace, and the way we play, making 50-meter runs back to save the defense from conceding. I would probably say, do you know what? Fuck it, Dragusin. I can't stand Emerson. I was about to defend Dragusin.
As soon as I think Emerson is he's not a good player, but I think his defending is better than Porro's, purely because he can tackle a bit better than Porro. But the rest of it, no, because as soon as Emerson looks at the halfway line, he has a panic attack, basically, doesn't he? He can't do nothing getting forward. Now and again, he's had a long shot and scored a goal, fair play, but then so has most players.
The thing is, Emerson in these big games coming up is if we were playing, I don't know, Burnley and Sheffield United the last couple of games of the season, I'd play Emerson right out. I would. But these big games coming up, City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, this is when Emerson absolutely exposes himself for being a bang average football player.
Totally.
This is my worry. Like these, you saw what Emerson did when we went away to Arsenal last season. He got a red card, making a ridiculous tackle in a place on the pitch he never needed to do it. He's got a clangor in him.
Oh, definitely. I mean, even the way he runs with the ball and that, he looks like he's going to fall over it most of the time. About the only thing he can do is a right back and make a tackle if it comes to him. When it comes to getting forward, he is absolutely terrible, and he's barely a bang average player anyway. So I think I'll agree with you on that one. I'll give Dragusin a go there because he's already shown the centre back he can get forward, and he done it at Genoa when I watched him play only that one game against Inter Milan, where he actually bossed it from centre back, kept getting forward, and he actually scored the header when it came in. So it's for me. I've got to go and stick Dragusin there because Emerson has already proved he just can't hack it, and he's another player that I think we need out quick as possible. What do you reckon?
I'd get rid of half of this squad, Dan. I'd get rid of half the squad. I'd get rid of some of the new signings we've made as well. I don't understand it. I don't understand what Spurs have done. People got carried away because Van der Ven and Vicario are good. And, a couple of signings the year before, like Dogi and Porro, are improvements on what we had. But the reality is Udogie defensively is lacking. We're just being generous because he's young and we want him to be better than what he really is. But the truth is Udogie, there's too much hype on him. I'm not saying he's crap, far from it. But he's not the player fans are making him out to be. He's not yet. Porro, he's improved defensively, to be fair to him, Porro.
He has, yes.
And he's probably one of the best right wing backs in the league. So, fair play to him. But again, Bissouma, really?
What
is he going to take us forward?
Why is he
Madison, we get 3 months of a season out of him. He played well for 3 months, injured for the rest. And since he's come back, he's doing what every Leicester fan said he would do. He's told us, he will go missing, and he's gone missing. So are we surprised, or we just don't want to listen to what fans say to us that have had that player at their club? Werner, shocking. Solomon, waste of time. Veliz, waste of time. Johnson doesn't turn up for the big games. Son, he's replacing at some point.
You made some brilliant points.
Absolutely crap. Richarlison, other than heading the ball, what does he give us? When we build up the play or attack,
points on your show still about the fact that our up front only really show up when they're playing a mid-table team or less.
Dan, I'll bring up the stats now. You can put it on your screen. I monitor it every week. I just needed to see for myself because I'm sick of when fans say, fact. I'm like, well, all right. I got it here. All right. All right. Yeah, if you bring that up.
I don't quite know how to do that. Oh, there you go. You've just sent it to me. There we go. All right.
If you just move that comment, I'll show you.
Go for it.
Just move the comment at the bottom.
Yep. So I'm still learning how to do all this one.
That's all right. Right, so these are the top half teams. These are the bottom half teams in the league. All the games we played against them. Johnson is blue. Richarlison's kind of that greeny colour, and Werner's red or pink. Right, against the bottom half teams, these are all the home and away games we played, cup and league. You can see that Richarlison scored quite a few goals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 goals and 2 assists. That's not bad. In 20 games, he scored 7 goals and 2 assists. So that's 9 goal contributions. So that's almost 1 in every 2 games there's an impact. But these teams are Bournemouth, Brentford, Burnley, Palace, Fulham, Everton, Luton, Forest, Sheffield. Johnson, he's done quite well. 2 goals and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 assists. So that's 8 goal contributions. That's not bad. Werner popped up with 3. He's only been here half the season so far. Not bad. So this isn't too bad. As soon as we get to the top teams, look what happens. The drop-off is massive.
Pieces, doesn't it?
Right? Johnson, 3 goals in 15. 3 goals in 15. Guys, that is a 20% return. Missing for 80% of games. 1 assist. Richarlison, 2 goals. He's a striker. Okay, they've missed 1 or 2 of these games as well. So I'm not going to, make it sound that disingenuous to say that they've played all these games. They haven't. 1 assist. So you've got 4 goal contributions from Johnson, 3 from Richarlison, Werner 3 as well. Werner, I'll give him a little bit of slack because he hasn't been here for a lot of these games. But nonetheless, the drop-off between the bottom half teams and the top half is massive. So what does that tell us?
Completely.
When
It tells us that we're not good enough to play the big teams.
These players aren't good enough. These players aren't good enough. But you know who does turn up? Son. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 goal contributions. That's almost every single game, big game, Son turns up. Almost. That's the difference. Kane had a similar goal contribution as... Oh, by the way, and Son went missing for 6 weeks to the Asia Cup. So
yeah.
This isn't an argument whether Son is world-class or not. This is to prove Son, in most big games, he turns up. So the argument now, Dan, is going to be, well, hold on a minute. You can only play what's in front of you. Yeah. But when you get to a cup final, who are you going to play? Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, or Bournemouth, Fulham, Sheffield United? If you're going for a league title, who's the team you've got to beat? Liverpool, Arsenal, City, or Wolves, Fulham, and Crystal Palace?
Exactly.
You've got to be good against those big teams. You need players that can step up. And by the way, this is the Premier League. What would this look like in the Champions League?
This is where I'll go to my next question with you then, yeah? I mean, I've asked it to a few people, and I did mention it earlier, but I'll ask you on this one. I know we've spoke about it already, but Champions League or Europa?
Europa.
Why?
Because I think the teams are easier. I think it's a competition that we've got a better chance of winning. And I just can't handle paying the £75 a match that Spurs are going to charge us just because we're playing a Champions League team for us to get turned over. European managers are very, very savvy. Okay. The English managers are becoming savvier. Eddie Howe's, what's his name at Wolves?
I can't remember his name. I'm terrible at remembering names.
They're becoming savvier as well. But European managers are very, very savvy. Porto did a number on Arsenal and almost knocked them out. Right? Porto
have also won the Champions League.
Yeah, Mourinho. One off. Okay. But they aren't a giant of European Champions League football. They're not. But they nearly did a number on Arsenal. Bayern Munich struggling in the Bundesliga. Tuchel did the end of the season. They played Arsenal, put one on them. European managers are no fans. Right? They're technically and tactically very savvy managers. If the manager of Fulham, the manager of Brighton, and the manager of Wolves can suss us out, what do you think these European managers who are more savvier, they're going to do when they look at us? They are going to pick us off.
They're going to open us up. Yeah.
We're going to get pumped.
Because if Ian Howe and the Fulham manager and Wolves,
Gary O'Neill, that's it. Gary O'Neill.
And other clubs that have done it to us, if they can work out how to beat Spurs, someone like Real Madrid is going to tear us to pieces. And now the thing
not
is,
even Real Madrid.
Again,
not even Real Madrid, dude. If we play,
it's just an example.
Play, by Leverkusen, if we play a Roma, they are going to suss us out. Real Madrid will just batter us like 7-8 goals, 6.
It'll be scary.
But a team like, a European side like Seville, for example, a team that was supposed to be, they'll beat us because they'll do exactly what Wolves, Fulham, Brighton did to us. They will do that. And they're not even the best teams in Europe. They're the teams just that's the group stage. The group stage team.
That's before you get up to the big boys, isn't it?
Copenhagen, who beat Man United this season, good side. Not elite, but good side. They will pick us off. They will unpick us. And we'll be having these shows saying, have we lost to Copenhagen? Bunch of Scandinavian farmers. What's happened? It's because we're easy to read. And good coaches.
There is one blueprint for Spurs. That was your words. And I totally agree with that one. Because after the first 10 games, which I still think we was very lucky in those 10 games as well, but we did play all right in a few of them. It's just so obvious how to beat Spurs, because this is where I have a problem with Ange. Whether he adapts to the future is the thing I keep saying and we'll keep talking about. But at the moment, there is only one way we play. There is only one way nearly every player plays. It is so easy to pick off Spurs because it's just so obvious what we're going to do. And everybody knows we're going to press so high, so do the long ball, and chances are you will succeed. And if Fulham can work that out, Newcastle can work that out, I totally agree with what you're saying. What are the clubs in Europe going to do to us?
Imagine Sane, Kimmich, Gnabry, and Kane a ball over the top. Oh my God. We will get our asses served on a plate. 3-course meal.
Exactly.
Sane tore the best Premier League defence, Arsenal. He tore them. Arsenal. He tore them. What's he going to do to us? What's going to happen?
He's going to rip us a new one.
It's going to be horrible.
I also think Champions League will do us no favours. I want, if we get anything, Europa, because even though we're going to come across very good teams in that, I think we at least stand a chance in the Europa. Yes, could we win it? Who knows? But I just don't think we will get embarrassed quite the same. And that is why I'd rather go for the Europa than the Champions League, because there is no way Spurs are ready for the Champions League. No way. I mean, mate, when you can't even handle Fulham and a half-cut Newcastle team, what are you going to do, like you say, when Bayern Munich come at you, when PSG come at you, when Real Madrid, Barcelona,
all of them,
Milan,
Lazio, Roma, anyone. Juventus. Mate, Chris Wood at Nottingham Forest was tearing us a new one. Chris Wood. What's Mbappe going to do? What?
That he ain't even going to come out of second gear. And it is so true. And that is why I don't want us in the Champions League. I think Brian says it perfect. It's all good sitting there watching us in the Champions League, knowing we're in the Champions League, hearing the music and that. But when you are just going to get totally embarrassed, I don't think I want to see that. And this is where I have the problem with Ange of, is he going to adapt? So, or is he just picking it out this season of what he needs, what he's going to get rid of and that? But I just don't see him changing. I honestly don't see him changing in his ways. But with what you said, don't necessarily take what the manager says seriously because he's just saying what he's going to say whatever. He did
listen to
say
what any
that
manager
he's
of
going to
Spurs
change
says.
his way. I just hope he's going to change a few things in the future, because there's a few games now where he should have made a decision to change a couple of little tweaks in the game, and he didn't. And he's waited till we're 3-0 down before he even brings on a sub. And some people question why I'm a bit sceptical of him. My faith is wearing a bit thin, but I've got to wait until next season to see if there is a proper change.
Dan, there are some myths that fans will say, but without the data to back it up. For example, we concede lots and lots of goals from set pieces. That's not quite true. If you look at the amount of goals we've conceded from set pieces in the Premier League, it's less than 20% of the goals have come from set pieces. So the biggest problem isn't set pieces. Are we good at set pieces? Not really. That's not the big concern. 80% of our goals come from non-set piece scenarios. In fact, the biggest percentage isn't even from counter-attacks. Counter-attacks is significant. It's not the biggest. It's not the
We're
biggest
actually
factor.
one of the best on counter-attacks, aren't we? Or
conceding.
chances. Conceding. Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. We're actually one of the better teams at not giving a large amount of them away. But again, it goes back to another one you said. It's the quality of chances we give away.
Yeah. Yeah. The XG on the chances we give away is massive. We literally are giving away gift wrap presents. It's almost like you can't miss. And that comes from a lot of our issues are down the wing. And what's happening is the wing backs are getting caught high up. And when the warning signs were there first game of the season, do you remember Brentford when we drew 2-2?
Yeah.
Do you remember they kept bringing the ball over the top but down the flanks? Yep. And the winger was
totally open.
And Emerson was getting caught out left, right, and centre because he started that game. Right. When the wing backs push up, the space is in behind them. It's not so much in the middle because you've got Van de Ven, Romero, and you've got Vicario that comes out. So there's a little space there, but that you don't really want to dink it there. There's the place to be because the centre backs are in and the full backs are high up. So you always want to attack the space, exploit the space, and that's where most of our goals. That's where most of the goals that we can see begins from. What's happening at Spurs is we push both wing backs up rather than one goes, one holds. Or if they both go, the holding mid also pushes up to the edge of the box of the opposition's team rather than sitting back. Pochettino, like I was saying to you yesterday, when we used to press, we used to expand, press, high line, but Eric Dyer used to tuck in and sit in front of Romero and Van de Ven.
To bring the triangle in.
Yeah, then Wanyama did it, and if Wanyama ended up pushing up, then Dembele would tuck in. So you'd have like these two players that would rotate. But the defense had someone just in front of them, but not literally in front of them, just a bit further forward. So if the attack went down the wide area, that wide player, that player sitting in front of the two centre backs, he would go across. So he would go that way or that way if the attack came down the flanks. Our player either doesn't do it or is too high up to do it. That's just a tactical tweak. I've seen that happen time and time again.
This high press. I mean,
the high press isn't the issue.
Do well with
it's the positioning. It's the positioning of the wing backs, and it's the positioning of the holding mid needs to be tweaked.
Well, we don't even have the wing backs, do we? Because they're inverted and up the other end of the pitch.
Well, yeah. So that's why you then need CDM to drop
to come back and cover.
To cover the wide areas. Because what you don't want is the centre back to get pulled out, and then when you split the centre backs, that's
happened in a majority.
That's how Forest scored. It's exactly how Nottingham Forest scored.
And with Doji being lazy and not running back after it as well, Basuma was just totally out of sync. So Van de Ven has had to do where he's got no real option but to try and stop it happening. He's gone across, totally up wide. Romero's had to come in. By the time that comes in, straight across, open shot and goal. Bang, there you go. And it's the same stuff every game. This is the thing that is really bugging me. It's you can at least say one of the goals we concede in 90% of games is the same of what we've conceded in the past 25 games. This is where I'm thinking, okay, Ange might be working out his team. He might be doing certain things to show the chairman something, whatever else. But come on, mate. If you can see this happening over and over and over again, why doesn't he change a little something?
Well, the argument's going to be, once I get my players, this won't be a problem. So this is why, as fans, we must wait to the summer. We must see what happens. And then, like, I don't know who said it yesterday on the show, by Christmas, if we haven't seen this fixed, then I think the curtain's on the wall.
That is why I've said, basically, for me, next season, he's got 6 months. And do you know what?
Yeah.
Even if
that's us being fair. That's us as fans. Those who say we hate, we're negative. We're being very fair here. We're being very fair.
We're saying,
we're giving him
basically,
time. We're saying every manager needs a bit of time. We'll see what he does. And
it's not even winning the games in one aspect for me. It's more next season. As long as I see him willing to change a little thing or two in the team before we start, because we're playing certain teams, and with certain teams, you've got to watch out with certain players or certain bits what they're weak on or strong on, whatever, or make a couple of tweaks during the game, then I can keep my faith for 12 months. But if I don't see him in 6 months, in games like Fulham, in games like Newcastle, in games like Wolves, in other games where it is blatantly obvious he's needed to make a change because you can either see that goal coming or we've conceded, then I'm Ange out.
Yeah. Listen, Ange out, Levy out, Lange out, Scott Munn out, Paratici out, Tottenham, everything out. Because, again, who brought the manager in? Can't just blame the manager. Who brought the manager in? 17 managers. What? They're all useless. They're all failures. Who actually said, "Get me Timo. I want Timo." Who said, "Get me Veliz"? I've been watching Veliz for years. That's the player I want. I don't think Ange's brought in Veliz. No. I don't think Ange said, "Yeah, get me Veliz." I don't think Ange said, "Yeah, get me Solomon." I think he probably might have had a say in Brennan Johnson. I think he probably did have a say in Madison. I think Van de Ven, I can see that. But there's no way you're telling me.
Went without say, basically. Madison, he was there for 30 mil grabbing because we all know he's a very good player. He can set it up. And one thing we lost completely when we lost Kane, apart from striker, we also lost our playmaker as well. So Madison just went without saying, and he was a good buy for 30 mil, and he very much looked it. But after that injury, he just looks a shadow of himself. And that is one thing, like that you said earlier, that a lot of Leicester City fans actually said, yeah, wait until he gets injured. And then wait until he takes his time to come back. And a lot of Leicester fans said it. So a question I've been asked here by Sammy. Why is Vicario not protected more on the corners? I mean, I spoke about it earlier. Go on. Give us your opinion on that.
Shit coaching. End of. It's that simple. It's shit coaching. Whoever deals with our set pieces, it is abysmal coaching. Even at basic level coaching, entry level, grassroots kids, entry level coaching, you protect your goalie. Minimum, you put a player on each post, right? If you don't want to protect him, at least protect the posts. I can give you level 1 and level 2 coaches that will look at that and say, protect the keeper. If it's not being done, it's because they're choosing not to do it. And from what I can see, we're doing zonal marking. I don't like zonal marking. I've never liked zonal marking.
I prefer get your man and
man
stick
to
to
man.
him. Love no money.
Because what happens, Dan? If I'm 5'11" and a 6'5" player comes into my zone, well, hold on a minute. We've got a mismatch now, haven't we? Because if the ball goes in the air, I'm not winning this. What happens if a big, strong, unit like Ivan Toney comes into the penalty box, into a zone, and Ben Davies is there? Well, hold on, who's winning this physical battle? So man-to-man marking is how you match your opponent. put the right man on the right player. That's why I've always believed in man-to-man marking. We do zonal marking. We don't protect the goalie. Any which way Spurs fans want to look at this, this is 100% on coaching. 100%. I've coached long enough, done my UEFA B. I've learned from coaches 10 times better than me. I've learned from pro academy coaches 10 times better than me. They'll always be better than me. These boys are mustard. I've spoken to them about it, and they all agree, like, this isn't being coached. And I'm like, I agree. I can see that too.
But
why they're not doing it? Why they're not addressing it?
Using initiative. Shouldn't the players use some of their initiative? I know it goes by you do what you're told on the pitch, but come on.
Dan, yes or no?
They know how to play it.
Yeah, but yes or no, right? If you're being told you will zonal mark, you can't then say, no, right, everyone man mark, because it's one thing me breaking protocol. It's another thing getting everyone else to do it as well. That's not going to happen.
No, that's not quite what I'm saying, yeah? I totally get your point. You got to do what you're told. But he's using initiative. So why everyone can see that Vicario's weak spot is he gets muscled out. He's brilliant in every other way, but when it comes to physically telling a player basically get out my face and throwing him like Pickford would, he don't do it. So why don't at least one of the players use their initiative, even though they're meant to be zonal marking, of just saying, do you know what? I'm just going to cover our goalkeeper because he's
then you've left your zone.
Two people.
Because then you've left your zone, and now there's going to be an unmarked player. This is why set pieces have to be coached, because it's different when the ball's moving. It's a bit more fluid. Players can actually say, well, there's space over there, I'll run that way. Or if I go this way and take my man with me, I'll open up the pathway for the person on the ball. So Ange is right when he says he gives freedom to the players. He's spot on. When the ball's moving, you need to be dynamic. I totally agree with him on that. But set pieces, a dead ball situation, a static phase of play, you have to coach it. You must coach how to defend. There's a reason Arsenal have got the best defence in the league from set pieces, and why they score the most set pieces, Dan. It's been coached. It's 100% been drilled into them. You can see it. The change from where they were 3 years ago to now,
We sacked ours and put Ryan Mason in there, wasn't it?
We've put a few. I think Mason does either defending or attacking, and some other guy, I think it's Zedinak, does the defending. But the thing is, when you look at our coaches' credentials, it's alarming. The coaching team we've got is not a very experienced team. It's not. We've got quite a lot of.
You showed the coaches yesterday, and I mentioned it earlier on the channel.
Do you know what?
That coaching team just looked absolutely awful.
It is. It's not good. I don't understand. I agree with you on this one. Let me see if I can find it, because that was pretty alarming.
It looked absolutely terrible. And a lot of managers, when they go to another team, they usually bring over 3 or 4 of their coaching staff with them. I mean, look at Conte. When he came over, he basically bought the whole lot. Poch knew a couple of people that he wanted in there. But from what I've heard, I can only go by from what I hear or read, same as most of us, is that Ange doesn't like bringing anyone with him and likes to start on a whole new set. If Ange was the one who picked this coaching team, then, like I said earlier, that's another red flag for me.
Well, Ange would have picked the coaching team, except for probably Ryan Mason, who's clearly a club puppet. He's there just to be an informant.
Yeah, and to be trained for our next manager.
You know it's going to happen.
Oh, don't, mate. You know what? If that happens, I'm going to have to walk away. I will just have to walk away and not watch whatever, and just maybe check on the results now and again. Because if Ryan Mason becomes our coach, I think that's a worse call than bloody Frank Lampard.
Well, he's had 2 shots and we flopped, so
it is shocking on where it looks like we could go. I mean, I totally agree with what you said about the coaching team. And I said it earlier, it's not just on the manager. It's not just, the players have to perform in that. But the manager can't do everything. So you need a coaching team to do specific things that maybe the manager isn't at his strongest point at. And if you haven't got that, like you say, and we haven't got someone who tells them how to deal with dead ball situations, how are they going to do anything? And it's also what Eric Dyer said. Again, people say don't take it gospel, whatever. I don't see why he would come up with this just to have a dig or whatever.
Do you know what's funny about Eric Dyer?
Go
Do you know what's funny about Eric Dyer? He says that, Conte coached us, but Ange didn't. Well, you were shit under Conte, Dyer. So clearly you can't be coached.
It was what he said, though, was that Ange just focuses on, this is the way I want you to play. Now, I can totally understand that. I mean, the amount of time we have one game a bloody week.
That, by the way. I don't believe that.
I don't know. I don't
believe that. Ange 100% coaches tactics. Every manager coaches tactics. There's a reason why.
But then why are they never different?
Well, but that's a different conversation. The reason managers know how to play against Spurs is because there's a tactic Spurs use. That means Spurs have been coached a certain way, right? So tactics are being taught. Why there isn't a variety of tactics, that's a different question, Dan. That's a different question. By the way, I've just brought do a screen share, Dan. I've got the coaching team. So you've got Chris Davies. He's got a bit of pedigree. He did 100 games unbeaten with Brendan Johnson when they won the Scottish treble and FA Cup at Leicester. So he's got a little bit of pedigree. Miles Jenak only got his coaching badges 2 years ago. So I've got 12 years on this guy. He's worked at Villa coaching kids, not adults. He got the job as a defensive set piece with 2 years experience in coaching under 17s. Right, that is alarming. Rob Birch, nice man, failed at Spurs as a goalkeeper, ex-Fulham goalkeeper, coach, given the job at Fulham in 2019, and Ange gave him the job at Spurs. So we can do better than Rob Birch for sure. Matt Wells, Scott Parker's number 2, sacked at Bournemouth with Scott Parker, then sacked at Club Brugge. So recommended by Ryan Mason. So it sounds to me, guys, right, when I look at this, Davies, Jedinak, Birch, and Wells, if there's one thing that I would say they've all got in common, they're yes people, and Spurs is a step up from where they've been before. So
it looks that way.
It looks like we're there. We're just like Ange. This is his first big gig. It sounds the same for the coaching team. Look, I don't want to slag them off because I'm not going to slag off coaches because I know what it takes to be a coach and to be in the pro game, which they are. They clearly have done certain things right. But for what Spurs are and where we want to go, this is a very underwhelming team. And I bet if we compare this team to our rivals, you'd see a big drop.
It's shocking. So do you think Ange picked this team or do you think this is what he was given as a coaching team?
Bit of both.
Yeah.
He would have picked it. Yeah, bit of both. He would have look. Matt Wells was recommended by Ryan Mason. So
I mean, quick on one thing Bill said here. Why is another channel live now crying almost over being called out for calling people like Stel? Yeah, it's okay for them to say what they like. I hate this community.
Why is another channel live now crying almost about being Stel? So crying almost over being called out for calling people like Stel. Yeah, it's okay. Look.
For them to say what they like. Basically, the way I see it in that one is you, me, and others just say it how we see it. We're not always going to get it right, but a lot of it is realistic, which is negative. And other ones just blow sunshine up their arse, basically. That's how I've taken what he said.
This is my answer. Every channel can say what they want, do what they want. That's why they have their own channels. Right, you set your own channel, run it how you want. So, yeah, exactly. Do it as you want. So I've got no issue. If anyone wants to call me out on their channels, if anyone wants to mention my name, I've got no issue with it. I will call out channels and I will call out people to my channels. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, they can't do it. I do it. I will continue to do it and I'll carry on doing it because the flip-flopping that I'm observing, the hypocrisy that I'm hearing and the contradictions going on in this fan base needs to be called out because that is the problem. these channels, whether they're really big, really small, medium, podcasts, they influence fan opinion. They influence fans how they think, because that's where a lot of fans now get their content from. Of course,
like
Sky
a
Sports,
newspaper,
TNT
basically.
Sports. Yeah, the fan channels are on the up. They can influence how people think. And I know it's a fact because I will watch a show, someone will say something on the show, and then someone will come into my comments 2 days later, say something as if they've just thought it when, hold on, I heard that on another show. You've watched that show, taken it, and now you're claiming it as yours in the comments, right? So I know it influences people's thinking. Look, I'm Marmite. I'm Marmite. I will say things that some people don't want to hear. I will say things that some people will love. Dan, I look at my channel, it's almost at 20K. Last night we went live, 500 live views. I'm a nobody. I'm a nobody. Wow, you're so big still. Oh, you got live views. People, I think, like real characters. People that are real. Dan, you're real. Whether you're liked or not, it's a different conversation. I'm real.
I've always been told I'm Marmite, mate, all my life.
Yeah, it's because you challenge people and you challenge what's being said. People don't like to be challenged. People don't want to actually debate. The amount of times I've said to people, look, you do a show. I've seen shows this week where everyone on the panel, sign Timo, get Tino, top player, makes sense. The stats prove it. Okay, fine. But where's the challenge? Who on this show is challenging that opinion? I watched We Are Tottenham TV. Big up to them.
Quick one a second. Quick one a second.
They did the same thing. They did a panel show. Everyone was in agreement of Timo. You can't say that the panel are wrong. If that's how they feel, that's how they feel. My question is this: who is challenging that opinion? Where's the challenge? Right, I challenge the opinion. I challenge that opinion, and I don't challenge it for the sake of it. Dan. I challenge it. I can back it up. I can prove it in so many ways why Timo is a joke of a player to be at Spurs.
Done it myself as well.
I haven't once budged on my opinion. Leave you out. I've never once said the club's going in the right direction. I've never once said, yeah, I'm totally on board with the project. I've never once said, I believe in what's happening. I've said, it looks like it might be going that way, but it's not been proven to me. The patterns haven't changed. 1 minute.
Okay. We've just a message here. Just to go love Spurs. I presume that's UK. And by the look of it, Bill, if you are watching, you would have heard what I said. I don't know what you said. I've been doing this. I do like a lot of what you say. I don't agree with everything. Same as everybody. And one thing I do want when I do my own show, and what I like on certain other shows, is everybody for me is allowed their own opinion. You don't have to understand it, but you've got to be willing to get the person's point. And a lot of people just seem to don't even want to get the point, or I agree with you, they don't want the challenge.
They changed the argument. They changed the argument.
If you want to defend yourself and come on here for whatever you said, I don't know what's been said, whatever. I've just put the link out for you if you wish to come on. And do you know what? I do agree with that, because there are certain shows that just won't have certain people on there because they don't want to be challenged.
Listen, Dan, people don't want to hear the truth, man. They don't want to hear the truth. Let's have it right. They don't want to hear the truth, right? 24 years, this club has stunk under this ownership. Stunk. 17 managers have all failed. 17 managers' tactics, all wrong. 17 years of recruitment doesn't work. We're still getting pumped. We're getting banged up at Brighton, banged up at Wolves, banged up at Newcastle. What's
embarrassed at Newcastle?
Oh, because the last 4 years we weren't in the top four, but now we might get back in it. Everything's changed. Nonsense. Rubbish. People like Sava, people like me, have been very clear with our views, and we stuck to it. We've never budged, right? You're the same mold, Dan. We threaten those channels, not because we're out here to threaten them. We threaten them because we are exposing the nonsense that's being said at times. It is a nonsense for a Spurs fan to go on national TV and say, Timo's a good signing, good bit of business, no-brainer, makes sense. And then 6 months later, that same fan is now saying, I don't want Timo. I don't think we should sign him. Well, hold on a minute. You just told a nation of viewers
to go and get him.
Representing Spurs, Good bit of business. 15 million, no brainer. Now you've just flip-flopped 180-degree turn, and now you're telling people, I don't want Timo. But when people like Sava and I knew from day one, said, this is a joke, this is underwhelming, this is nonsense. How have things changed? We're toxic, we're abusive, we're offensive. Now, who called it? You, me, Savas, and many others. But we get tarnished with this brush of hate when we were right from day one. And the people that go on national TV, speak a crock of shit, end up being a flip-flop. Such a good content creator. Wake up, people. Come on, right? Let's be honest about it. And this is why we're disliked. We're disliked because we're right. We're being proven right.
That's with Werner.
What do you want us to do?
I can see the point on using Werner as
Timo's going to win us a league title. Good
no
back.
way.
What a great
But at that time, as a gap filler, I could see why we got him, yeah? But that's all. And that's all. I was like, all right, he plays. Everyone's heard what I've said. He's a poor man's son. No two ways about it. But he plays exactly the same way. It's just come love nor money. He just cannot finish. He'll finish 1 in 20 chances, or he'll put it over the bloody bar. I could see it as a stepping stone, and I could accept that for the moment, because January is a very hard time to get a player. But I just cannot get it into my head how any Spurs supporter who wants to bloody do something and get somewhere is going to be happy with Timo Werner cutting in on the wing to try and score us 4 goals a season. Where are we going to go with that? Nowhere fast. I mean, to me, I don't mean to insult nobody, but I said, wake the fuck up, people. Werner is not going to win you something. All right, maybe in a cup final, if he was there, out of a pure fluke, he might do something. But my man ain't going to score more than six goals a season. So where's that going to get us? Yet there's people fighting tooth and nail to buy Timo Werner, for fuck's sake. It's a head fuck.
You know what's funny? That look, they're allowed their listen. That's our opinion. Other
Everyone's
fans are allowed
an
to
opinion.
Yeah. Right, but this is the issue. I will debate them. I will debate you. Harry Scarf came on my channel. I debated him. I got Barnaby. I got Sunny Talk Spurs. We had the debate. Right? Let's debate it. But what's happening is they won't debate it. What they do is they surround themselves with people that say the same thing as them. Let's all agree. Let's all big it up. Hold on. Why don't you get people that genuinely see it from a different perspective? I've done that. I've challenged everyone and anyone watching this show. If you watch this video, if you disagree, debate me. Let's have the chat. I'm not going to sit there and call you every name under the sun in a debate. Go watch the debates I had with Harry Scarf. Go watch the debate I had with Barnaby and Sunny Talk Spurs and tell me if it wasn't respectful. Right? But what happens is...
It was fine. There was common courtesy. There was respect.
But they won't debate you, Dan. Most of them won't debate you. Instead, they'll talk about you on their show. If someone puts a comment up, Stelios is toxic, they'll put it on the screen and snigger. Like I care.
Look, the other thing I find a bit strange on here, and we've all been brought up different times, different ways, different people, different opinions. I am willing to go on anybody's show, like you say, and debate to something I believe in or something I've got facts in. But one difference with me, with a lot of people, is if you prove me wrong, or if you actually give me some solid opinion that I can agree with, me, along with a few others, what I've noticed, are willing to put their hands up and say, do you know what, mate? Fair play. You proved me wrong, or I think your opinion's stronger than mine. But I think so many people are so narrow-minded, set in their way, that even if you slam down 100 facts against them, they'll still turn around and say, no, you're wrong.
Because they're hating the person, not the argument. They don't attack the argument, they hate the person. Dan, look at this. This was earlier on this year, right? That's a tweet I put out. Look, Tottenham away. Okay? Right, I'll read it to you. So it's when Dejan Kulusevski said we won in life, that speech. And it got thousands and thousands of likes, loving Kulu. I feel part of this club. Kulu, you legend, and I love what's happening at Tottenham. And this was what I put out. Our fans are proud of getting humiliated at home to the worst Chelsea side in 20 years. How can we take this seriously? We won in life. What a loser mentality. I got battered online. I got ripped. Now, after five going 4-0 down at Brighton, getting pumped by Wolves, 3-0 at Fulham, 4-0 at Newcastle. Now, are you listening to what people are saying about Kulusevski? Are you listening to the conversation? Those same people that slammed me, now they're saying, don't start Kulu, drop him, he's a flop. I'm like, hold on a minute. Aren't we winning in life, people? Right? Dan, they don't want to hear it, man. They don't want to hear it.
It's like, what I'm going to say is a bit different.
And then they call me toxic. I'm like, how am I toxic? I told you this when Kulu said it. When Kulu said it, I called it out. I said, this is crazy. How am I toxic? I was right.
It's something slightly different. It's like something I've said, and it must have been about 9 months ago.
We won in life. Who says that? What does that even mean?
Just a quick one.
Dad, what does it mean? What does that mean?
I don't know, mate. I really haven't got a clue. Sava, good to see you again, mate, on here. Again, I know you're retired, mate, but if you do want to pop in and just have your absolute stress out on Timo Werner, there's the link, mate. If you just want to come on and just let your thing out about Timo Werner and then just jump off, mate, please, I want to hear it. Now, I said about Kulusevski 9 months ago, we're playing him in the wrong position. Juventus saw it. Everyone's heard me repeat it 100 times now. He's better as an attacking midfielder, central, like he plays for Sweden, or he played as a target man behind Ronaldo. I had 90% of people, I would say, you ain't got a clue. He's never done that. He's never done this. You haven't got a clue what you're talking about, and this and that. Lo and behold, we stick him as a attacking midfield central. I see 75% of the people who told me I'm crazy and he's never done that. Why don't we just play Kulusevski like that? He's always played like that at Sweden. He done it at Juventus. And I'm sitting here thinking, I told you this 9 months ago and you all said I didn't have a clue. It is amazing how someone can just all of a sudden...
Dan, can I ask you a question?
They knew it anyway.
Dan, even if you played in the number 10 role, okay, do you think that Kulu is the way forward for us? I'll tell you why I ask. Things need to be done quick. The way we play, it's got to be done quick. Not just running or dribbling or moving with the ball. It's Spurs to me look their best when we play 1 or 2 touch football. At the moment, you see, we get the ball and you're sitting there getting angry, saying, "Release it! Why are you holding on to the ball so long? Why is the ball still at your feet? Play it!" And it's very slow. It's very passive. I think we're the best when we move the ball quick, when we pop it 1 touch, 2 touch football. I think we're actually quite a good little team. I think we actually look good. Mm-hmm. Do you think Kulu is capable of doing that on a regular basis in the number 10 role?
No. I just feel with Kulu,
then it won't work with him. It won't work.
I'm agreeing. I just think we would see better out of him if we played him in that way. But no, I don't feel he is right for this system at all. And I feel we play him totally the wrong way anyway. And if we're not going to play him the bloody right way, sell him. Yeah? And no, he's not what we need in that position. He is too slow for it on his acceleration. He's actually quite quick on 100 metres. But he also comes across a bit clumsy at times. But he's very good at holding the ball and that. But no, he is not the player we need for that position. My main point I make to everyone is, and that I said 9 months ago, we're playing him in the wrong bloody position anyway, and everyone told me I didn't have a clue what I was talking about. And then all of a sudden we do it, and people start bringing up history of, yeah, those people who told you he's never done it, all of a sudden they're giving you a story of how he done it at Juventus and everything else. And you're like, hang on a minute. A few months back, you were telling me he's never done it, and I haven't got a clue. I just think it's mad how all of a sudden people know the facts and everything, yet then when you have told them that, they don't want to take it in. just Tottenham as a whole, if we go back to what you're saying, back to what was said on Spurs Kings TV, I've put the link on here. If any of you want to come on here, do you know what? If anyone on the chat wants to come on and challenge the fact that we should keep Timo Werner, please do it. I would love to hear. I would love to hear why. Both me and Stel will stay quiet. I'll mute us both. I would love to hear someone with solid reasons.
Brennan Johnson and Timo Werner proved to me yet again in a big game when the pressure ramps up a little bit, they are useless. They are a waste of space. It's not just them, right? I'm not blaming the Newcastle loss on them too. A lot of players did not play well that game. A lot. The manager didn't adapt the way the game was going. There's a lot of blame. But my point is this, and it's what I've said all along. When you've got Timos, when you've got Johnsons, when you've got Kulus, in these top 10 games, most of the time, not always, but most, they go missing. We cannot be successful with players like that. We can't. We will never be successful with players that go missing in those games. It's not possible.
It's not going to happen. I totally agree. And it's like with Johnson. I've been debating with people for a long time now. For me, he is a
tapping
player.
Merchant.
Yeah,
he puts
one
or two good balls into
minutes.
Game. He puts 1 or 2 good balls on the ground in 90 minutes and maybe scores a tap in. Do those 2 crosses and that 1 tap in, do that justify being a forward attacker at Tottenham Hotspur? Is he even close to the levels of what Saka, Foden, Salah, Mane, Firmino?
Is he even good enough to lick their boots, mate?
Is he? Are they? Because that's the level that's the level that's challenging for titles, Champions Leagues. You know, I'm so gutted we signed Brennan Johnson, man. I really am gutted because you can see he's not at the level. You can see he's not going to be that player. But we're going to stick around with him. I felt the same when we signed Richarlison. When we signed Richarlison, Dan, my heart sank because I couldn't believe that of all the players in the world, of all the players in world football, we found £65 million
to sign that bang average at best. Spurs King, if you want to come on, the links on the side, mate.
Isak.
Sorry,
Isak. I think Isak costs less than that, or round about that. Isak. Like, there's players in world football that give you so much more than Richarlison, but yet we're expected to believe that we're going in the right direction. How are we going in the right direction? Getting top 4 is not the right direction. That is the norm now at Spurs. Maybe we're spoiled, Dan. Maybe we're spoiled that top 4 is become our new norm. But for me, the right direction is: can you challenge for a league title? Can you get to an FA Cup final? Can you get back to the quarterfinals and semi-finals of the Champions League? If you can get to that, we're challenging. But we're so far off it. We're miles off the league title. We're not even near Champions League pedigree. FA Cup. We went out in round 1. We are miles off
what
of it.
We did against Fulham as well. I mean, what you say about Richarlison is so true. I remember when we signed him, and us, like, the first show I ever went on was Sav's one. I mean, thanks for letting me on and everything, mate, and getting me doing this. And a couple of shows later, we were talking about Richarlison, and he was going into one. Why the hell have we signed this for 65 million? And I'd say it was 50-50. Half agreed with him, and half was saying, we've just signed the Brazil number 9. What's your problem? Mate, yeah, I don't know what to say about it.
That's like signing Phil Jones and saying, "Oh, we've got an England international." Are you taking the piss? Are you taking the piss?
But another one with Brennan Johnson. I've argued left, right, and centre on WhatsApp and other things and that as all he's been is a patch player. I can name 2 games he's had that have actually been good for more than 60 minutes. After that, yes, he's got us a tap in. Yes, he's got us a cross here and there. But he turns up for 5-10 minutes and then totally disappears. Now, I think Johnson can get better. But can he get good enough? Not a chance in hell. But as all I keep seeing off a lot of people is The sky's the ceiling for him. No.
Look, do you know
Where
what?
are we going to go with this lot?
Look, you can see a player and you can tell if they've genuinely got potential to deliver at a certain level. A lot of people say, oh, Gareth Bale, do you remember when he came to Spurs? Gareth Bale came as a teenager. And if you look at Gareth Bale, he had some technical ability for a kid of his age, like real techers on the ball.
You could blatantly see it, even though he was rusty.
See, do you know what? This boy's got something. It took Harry Redknapp to move in position, give him more game time to get it out of him, and just, you know, some good coaching. If I look at Udogie, do I see a player in there that can be elevated? Yeah, I do. I've seen enough of Udogie to say there's a player there. We can just develop the brain a bit, a little bit less rash in moments where he's being hounded. There's a player there. That time we got the ball and he dribbled past 1-2 players and broke into an attack when he got taken out at Aston Villa, Dan. That says to me, you've got that attacking fullback in you. I can see it.
You've got.
If we adapted our tactic a bit, if we just nurtured Udogie, I've seen enough to know there's a good player in there. There really is. But right now he's not ready. We've overhyped him. When I look at Brennan Johnson, mate, I don't see it.
You see a Nottingham Forest player. You see a Nottingham Forest player, don't you?
I don't see someone that's going to drive into the box, go right, step over, come on the inside and curl one bottom corner and think, wow, what a play. I don't see that.
No.
I don't see it, Dan. I don't see what I saw with.
I don't see that with any of our ones up front. I don't even see it with a midfield except maybe Sarr.
See, Kulu, I see it, but he hasn't got the pace, man. And it kills me. If he had pace,
he hasn't got the acceleration. He hasn't got the acceleration.
He hasn't
100 metres, he's actually quicker than Basuma, Bentancur and that lot, but it takes him 50 metres to get to his pace. And playing up at that end, it's the acceleration that counts. Not the out and out how fast you go. It's your acceleration. And he ain't got it.
I just don't... Look, I'm happy to be proven wrong on all of this. You know, at the end of the day, I want Spurs to do well. But I've seen enough of Johnson to say the way we play, I don't see how Johnson works because we don't play with wingers. We play with attacking forwards. It just so happens that you've got one who's on the left and the right. If look, go back, people, and watch Liverpool in their prime under Klopp. Go look at how Mane, Salah, and Firmino played. Just go watch them, and then tell me they played with wingers. They didn't. The width came from Robertson and Trent bombing up. They were the wingers. That's when and Trent and Robertson were outstanding at it. The other three, they stayed as forwards. Press, win the ball, quickly play it in between yourselves, feed each other in, score. Or get the ball, drive, beat a man, lay it off, take a shot. We've got wingers playing as forwards. This is the problem, Dan.
And they're not even good at it.
Werner and Johnson as wingers, you could maybe argue, do you know what? They do get crosses in. There's an argument. There's a debate to be had, right? We can have a debate on it. But as attacking forwards, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke.
Like Son, you can see him as an inverted forward, isn't it?
He's an attacking forward.
For me, Son
he's not a striker.
A winger. No.
He's an attack.
But for me, he's not even an out and out what I would call a winger because his crossing of the ball is not.
He's an attacking forward. He's an attacking forward.
Yeah, inverted, isn't he? Inside forward, basically. Start there, cut into the middle, and go for gold. And no, Johnson is definitely not that. Kulu is better at that, but consistency is just not there. And he just not. If he had that pace, I agree. He's also got the muscle to knock someone clean out the way. But again, playing this way with Ange, we need a striker that can bang in 20 plus, and we also need two on the side that can bang in 12, 15 each season.
They've got to get at least
Johnson
double
ain't-
digits. At least double.
Yeah,
Kai Havertz
Johnson
and
ain't doing
Trossard,
that. And Werner hasn't done it since he's been at bloody his first season at Chelsea. And people are still saying, sign this prick.
Yeah, it's true. He hasn't done it in 4 years. He has. We need Werner to do something he hasn't done in 4 years. How? How do you justify it? Do you know what's actually quite annoying as well? And this is on Ange. This is on Ange now. We've actually got a player that can bomb up the wing, put in crosses, and if need be, invert. And he's got one hell of a shot in him, Pedro Porro. And he's constantly told, go in. Go in. We've actually got that overlapping wing back. We've actually got Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. We've got one of those at our club.
How long have I been saying this? How long have I been saying?
Cross,
do you know what?
He's got the shot. But he's told to go and play as a 10.
He's like a little bulldog.
So
he can knock him off as well. It is there. It is there for the taking. Thank you. And so many people tell me that I'm divvy for saying I'd even quite happily have him on the right wing because you will get the fucking crosses in and you will start seeing something happening there, even though we got no one really to cross it to. But it's annoying. I don't like this inverted crap.
And Dan, here's the thing. If he did cut in, he can shoot. He's actually got a rocket of a shot on him. This is what I'm saying.
Solid free kick as well.
We've actually got our version of Trent and Robertson at the club. We've actually got a version of it. He's quite good at it as well.
To his best quality. We don't play him to what he's best at. And when you're not playing a player,
this is what Harry Redknapp was good at.
You're not going to get the best out of them.
See, this is what Redknapp was good at as a manager. He played players to their strengths. He was actually very good at that. That's why he moved Bale to the wing. He said, son, defending ain't your strength. Pace and beating players is your strength. You're going out wide.
Get up on the wing. Yep.
Yeah. You know,
and it's something we just don't do.
I think Mourinho was quite good at it. I think Mourinho was quite good at that as well. But the problem with Mourinho is he doesn't like working with players that are 6 out of 10s, 7 out of 10s. He wants, give me 8 or 9 out of 10s and I'll turn them into 10 out of 10s. But you've got to give me something to work with at a high. Give me something special to work with. Give me something very good. I'll turn it into special. You saw what he did with Kane and Son. But if you give him a Dyer, anything that's kind of below a 7 out of 10, Mourinho's not getting a tune out of them. Mourinho's not getting a tune out of them. It's not happening. He's not
this
that
is
guy.
why
that's where Poch is good. That's where Poch is good. That's where Poch was good.
This is why I still feel what Conte did for us last season.
But Poch can't get you a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10.
No,
that's
but what he did with getting us the season before, into that 4th place, I don't even think Pep, Klopp, or any of them could have pulled that off. How he pulled that off, I will never know. And credit where credit is fucking due, mate. But Conte's the past and everything else.
Poch is a good manager and a good coach, right? He gets a lot of slack and a lot of hate. Look, fair play. Poch is a good manager and a good coach. The only failure of Poch is that final bit. He's lacking. He's lacking that final bit.
Doesn't he? He bottles it. That's how it looks.
Yeah.
So with that one, mate, I'm going to call it quits. And I just want to say, when are we going to stop playing football like that? Seriously, I just don't know. When we go, and I do say when, because I think it is going to happen. I hope I'm wrong. I pray I'm wrong. I know you do, Stel. I know quite a few people on here will agree, because I haven't seen no one give us any controversy on what we've said. If we go and get Timo Werner and he's in that starting 11, we are just going to be looked at the same way that Spurs have been looked at for 24 years, and I'll show the picture again. There we are. It says it all.
If we sign Timo Werner, I've made it very clear. I'm done. I'm done.
I totally understand it. So thanks for everyone for coming on. I don't say it very often, please give us a like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated, or even just a like. Still, I think everyone knows it, but where can we find you? What have you got coming?
Tottenham away, 8:30 p.m. tonight. Come and join us. We're going to be talking about the weekend. And I like Mondays, Dan. It's my favourite show. I'll tell you why. Because obviously I've known Iggy, Maz, the boys for ages now and whatnot. Will, Mari. So it's almost like a pub chat, which I like. You know, that regular meet in a pub. But also, you've had the weekend to really digest it, take on board what's happened. Couple of shows. Let their anger out. Look at the facts and the stats on the socials. See how people react. So you come into it from a more, I'm not going to say relaxed because we still lose it, but you come at it from a more, level-headed. That's it.
More of a meh attitude sort of thing.
Yeah, more of a, here we go again.
Shit happens. Spurs happens. Anyway, everyone, thanks for coming on. Stel, thanks for coming on. And the other guests I had, Chris, Elly, Ben, all top people. People, have a good day. Have a clean 2 weeks where we don't have to play until we play Arsenal. One more quick point. Sorry, I didn't bring this up.
By the way, I don't know Chris, right? I don't know him, but I respect the fact that he sticks by what he thinks. I like that in a fan. I like the fact there's not a flip-flop there. He doesn't seem like a flip-flop. I like that.
No,
I actually respect
everyone is allowed their opinion.
Who disagree with me but stick to their point and they try and defend it. I actually quite like that because it's the ones that say Timo's great, brilliant, and then 6 weeks later, get him out of the club. Why is he here? It's like, but you told everybody he's great, you know?
Right. Quick point before I do finish it, because I just reminded myself of it and that. Yesterday on your show and on my show, I was saying I was petrified of playing Arsenal. I'm still scared of playing Arsenal. I'm still scared of the way we play. And if Saka and Martinelli have a good day, I think we are up shit street. But after that loss yesterday, and they've got Bayern Munich, I knew they had another game. What is it? Wolves. But I didn't know they had to play Chelsea as well. I'm still wary now. I'm still a bit scared. But I'm not as petrified as I was. I can still see this turning out very bad. But if they get done by Munich and then fall to pieces against Chelsea or Wolves, I think we might be able to take them. But I'm still scared. I'm just not petrified now. Would you reckon?
You got to see the momentum going into the game. By the way, Daryl Denton in the chat, you say you go on Tottenham away, but your messages never get put up. I don't see you in the chat. I don't know what it is, but sometimes certain comments just don't appear from 1 or 2 accounts. I don't know why it is. Can you do me a favor? If you are watching tonight and none of your comments get put up, can you email me at hello@tottenhamaway.com? hello@tottenhamaway.com. Can you email me so I can look into it? Because I've had that problem with other people as well. I don't know what it is. I need to email YouTube, I think.
I get the problem on the comments after the shows and that, where only some of them show up and some of them don't, or one you reply to.
I don't get it. I get it on live shows. I don't know what it is.
It's weird. But anyway, everyone, have a good day. Come on, you Spurs, and don't sign that prick Timo Werner.